turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and
5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. 10 seconds remaining. Radiant team, ban. Dire team, ban. Ten seconds remaining. Radiant team, ban. Dire team, ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team, ban.
Welcome back. We are here for another day of the BTS Pro Series Season 2. We are here for Geek Fan vs Fnatic. Starts off with it is MLP, Dota, and John X5. John, welcome back, sir. We had 2 days off. It was a very nice 2 days to have off. How are you feeling now that we're back?
I'm getting really excited. You know, the groups have shaped up quite a fair bit, and it's a bit surprising to some. I think it's within expectations for others. Of course, Neon right now is sitting at the top, and we've only got, what, it's the last 2 days of groups, so there's not much room to change, Geek Fam to follow, and the first match coming up is already a pretty important one to kind of balance out that top four. It's Fnatic versus Geek Fam, both number 2 and number 3. And this one should be fairly close. Like this is probably one of the more competitive matchups left. Historically, though, this has favored Fnatic by a ton. I think they've got a history, like throughout from 2017 up against Geek Fam, of like an 80% win rate by series. So Fnatic understands how Geek Fam plays, but we'll see whether or not that holds, because we've seen Fnatic kind of falter in some series where they've gotten draws where you'd expect them to just win outright. So we'll see if Geek Fam can kind of force them to that kind of situation. Interesting to note, Mike, you see those first ban-outs, you don't see anything like the DK, the Queen of Pain, or the Trinket ban-out. So those are all viable starters for both teams now.
That is true, John. I believe they were really focusing down on the, well, they got rid of the 23 Savage morphing, of course, and then the rest of the bans were basically a DJ Earthshaker, which makes enough sense. We do see both the Moon, DP, and Nature's Clock, which you also kind of need to get rid of up against Fnatic. And Fnatic, of course, respect banning the Raven Lycan. You know, just the standard stuff. It's all just respect bans coming out. And, well, the Ember was still available, so they do go ahead and pick it up first on the side of Fnatic. I imagine, it's a bit early to say, that it's probably going to be the Moon Hero in the mid lane. But, EJ played on support many times.
We have
Queen of Pain.
it's what all the heroes I said they didn't ban out her pick, so DK comes out, the Queen of Pain as well for Geek Fam. Flexible picks they love. You know, you could give Cuckoo either hero, you could give Carl either hero, so you could give even Sepper the Queen of Pain. So it's really open for Geek Fam. Fnatic as well, nothing being shown, and it's that balanced drafting we've seen throughout the past 9 days. Right, every team wants to start with that flex. Every team has been pretty darn good with that flex, so I don't blame you for going back into that. Oh,
Yeah, I gotta say there's some exciting picks coming out. Like Geek Fam starting up with their favorite opening of DK Quad. Every time those two heroes are available, they will take them without a doubt. But you've left the Ice 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 Timber in there, which is a real concern for me because we've seen Ice 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 in this hero quad. But we know what he can do with it. Geek Fam must have known this was coming once they chose that DK, so now they go into the Monkey King pickup. I guess the Monkey King is one hero that can deal with the Timber early on, and I'm talking super early on. I'm talking level 2, 3 maybe, but a player like Ice 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 and a hero like Timbersaw, it doesn't really matter who he's up against.
10 seconds
Once he gets
remaining.
at the level 5, level 6 mark, I don't think he cares about the
5
Monkey King.
seconds.
No,
remaining.
definitely not. And the monkey, as you mentioned, into Tim early on is nice. I worry about how mobile you can expect your Monkey King to be in this case. You've just got natural tree choppers. There might not be a lot of trees to jump around. Hell, you might even be caught out on trees. Right. Way to punish the monkey in that sense. And it's surprising because you tend to see when it comes to bans that that Timbersaw take priority over the NP, but Geek Fam opt to let it slide through. So we'll find out just how much their draft can deal with it. The magic damage from Queen of Pain is pretty nice. Comes out. So that's a bit of a power spike for Ice. Fnatic do pick up the Mirana, so it starts to get a bit more likely that it's going to be a Moon Ember Spirit, simply because I think we've seen DJ play that Mirana a ton more, of course. So it's starting to shape up here for Fnatic. I think the Ice Timbersaw is going to be a major factor in the early game, just how much harassment you can pump out. Geek Fam do get the Grimstroke out, so you've got the DK Grim, the Queen of Pain Grimstroke. Even a Monkey King has good distance closing, so that Inkswell is going to be really strong initiation for Geek Fam. It won't take too much setup to get that done.
That's not. Fnatic now, they might want to have a think about their own draft and just be a little bit wary of that those combinations with the Grimstroke now. Looking pretty dangerously from Geek now. I'm very curious to see what Fnatic are going to give 23 this game. We do see him switching up certain heroes, and never mind, there it is. They go for the Luna pickup, which has been coming back into favor as of late, that Luna. Now, in all fairness, unless this is a position 5 Mirana or a pos 5 Ember somehow, I don't believe we have the support pickup yet of the position 5.
No.
Unless it's going to be a pos 5 Luna. There could be some really weird things going on here, John. I'm not 100% sure, but I do not see that support for jabs.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We have seen that kind of do this for their drafts before, where they kind of go a bit crazy with the flexibility, and we'll see if that pays off. But I think it is going to be probably a last pick support, unless, yeah, it's a pos 5 Mirana. I think that's the only way you could run this support of the Ember Mirana if you're last picking the Moon Hero. But again, this is Fnatic. They go a bit crazy with draft sometimes, so we'll see that. I think in that sense, Geek Fam a bit more stability. Of course, it looks likely that's a Separate Queen of Pain. They're saving their last pick, core pickup here, so we'll see how it unfolds. Fnatic, they've got to reveal their hand first, so they've got to really show us exactly where they're leaning these in their last pick.
Well, Geek Fam seem to agree with what I was saying. They do get rid of the pos 5 Bane, so they seem to think Jabs is still missing his hero here. Fnatic are about to reveal what was the case. They only have 10 seconds of reserve time. And
okay.
No, it was the case. They do go for that pos 5 Ogre. I don't mind seeing that Ogre, John. It can have some real potency, especially with that Bloodlust on heroes like the Luna. As we know very well, she tends to go a little bit insane with that kind of attack speed. Geek Fam now looking to close off their draft, and from what I can tell, they're just missing a pos 4, right? Unless it's going to be a pos 4 Queen Pain.
Yeah, it's I think with Geek Fam's draft style, they do usually reach this point. If they can, they just give Zephyr the Queen of Pain and go with something else. So it's a bit more open with what they would want to go for. I think in this case, you might still be looking for the Carl hero down mid. You'd just give Cuckoo the DK if they are running the Sport Quap. So still fairly open. I think they do know their matchup is the Ember Spirit. We've seen the Void Spirit in response. That's something Carl's played a couple of times if they want that down mid. Maybe even something like the Storm might be nice here because you don't have the hardest lockdown for a slippery hero like that. So there's a lot of leeway to build off of a slippery hero, perhaps even a puck, just to tie in your team fight with a Monkey King. I think that would be pretty effective as well if they wanted a more fighty lineup. It's really pretty open. I think Fnatic with their draft has some pretty sensitive timings. Savage's itemization on that Luna is going to be really important. Whether or not you opt for the magic build or the physical build, I think in this case, with an Ogre Magi, you get a bit more value from physical. So you should see that build up into maybe the Manta style, maybe the SNY, and the Mask of Madness just to get quick farm and early fights out. It's going to be really down to the tempo Fnatic set. Ice has to have a good lane on Timbersaw. You know, we've seen Timbersaws that fall behind from having a slow start. Ice is not that kind of player, but it can happen. So we'll see just how far he can push his lane out. And well, Geek Fam's really digging into that reserve time for their last pick.
That they are. I mean, it's just so flexible with the draft right now. It's kind of hard to know how you want to run this. You can have that pulse for co-op with the Grimstroke. Well, we've seen that from Geek Fam a couple times. You can also let Carl just play the Queen of Pain and run the Cuckoo off lane, or the other way around, because we've seen Carl also play that mid DK. But no, they're going to go for the Necrophos off lane, I believe. And that should mean the pulse for co-op is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
So Raven will jump on the Monkey King, that's self-explanatory, but the question is, what are the other two doing?
Yeah, it's still fairly open and no. Except for DK? That is not something we've seen much.
I think we've seen it once.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, we saw it once within the last week. It is going to go ahead and take that off-lane quap. So, Necrophos, Carl, they've really switched things up here, but I don't know. The mid-necro into that Ice team, it's one way to just shut him down.
That is a really good way of getting the handle on Ice. I think down mid, it's going to be interesting to see how much Carl can get. We've seen Necrophoses go 50-50 up against Ember Spirits before, so it's really down to Carl to get that good start. His level 6 is going to be key, and I think everything else is pretty solid. You've got the potency here for double Reaper's Sight, which is not something you see too often, the Grimstroke Necrophos. So there's a lot of value here for Geek Fam in terms of locking in a numbers advantage in a fight.
That there is. This is going to be a very, very interesting start to the day. I'll tell you that, John. When I looked at the list of matchups today, this is the one where I looked at and I thought this will be the closest match, I believe. Oh, yeah. I mean, Geek Fam are ahead of Fnatic in the right now. They're currently sitting in second.
Yeah.
So a lot of people may assume Fnatic should just be able to get a quick 2-0 victory, but I don't think so. Not up against like a team like Geek Fam.
Yeah, they have
harder than you'd expect.
Yeah, they've been playing on point. I think the way they run their drafts have been kind of part of that as well. Like this flexibility you see from their draft and the way they got that last pick is out it, right? They play around with that super open first two picks. So left fielder for last. So we'll see if that pays off this time around. Again, it's a key of timing for both sides. You can't allow Ice to fall too far behind here. He needs to be able to do ice things by the mid game. At the same time, for Geek Fam, you know, the Necrophos has such sharp timings too. The moment you see a pipe come out very early on, his damage is kind of really shortchanged there.
Yeah, you're gonna need to see something like normally. Like that, but that's something they might need to think about. Through any it's not easy said as done. It's really quite challenging in the middle of the team fight to make all that happen. We'll have to wait and see exactly what Ice is planning to build this game. He's one of those players, he gets fairly creative with his item builds, to say the least. It's kind of hard to even know what Ice is thinking right now. He does get a bit cheeky with these item builds.
Yeah, that he does. And there was a bit of banter earlier in the lobbies, thinking about accusing 322 on Cuckoo, and some laughs were had. There is some good spirit here between these two teams, right? Like they both love to, they both play against each other a lot. There's a lot of history, so it's always nice seeing two teams that really understand how each side plays start to show that in the match.
I wonder how Geek Fan feel as well, because he did point out that that Fnatic have an 80% win rate up against Geek Fan. Essentially, right? That it's around 80%. So I do wonder how they're feeling this matchup. You know, whether going up against a team like Fnatic is kind of a little bit nerve-wracking here for Geek Fam, or whether they're ready for it. Which I'm sure they're ready for it this time around, because they've been looking great throughout the Pro Series.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're going to be too afraid of this team.
No, I think they've found a pretty good spot for themselves. They do lead, as mentioned, so they must be comfy. I think they've forced Fnatic into a bit less of their comfort picks with Savage out of that Morphling, you know, certain key picks for Fnatic not showing up, and they've secured that Twop and DK. So Geek Fam, they've got heroes they're really familiar with. I think there's a lot of comfort in this kind of draft.
Yeah. We'll have a quick look at the lanes, John. Mid lane, Carl, of course, going to be up against that Moon Ember. We've seen Moon play Ember many, many times, and he is quite a devastating kind of Ember player. He can really carry through for his team if he needs to. Of course, down to that bot lane, you'll see White and Raven there up against DJ and Ice, who's currently going to double stack the creep wave and probably just TP out back to the tier 1 tower, or maybe just even skip it all together. Top lane, you'll see Cuckoo on that off lane, Quap up against 23 Savage. Both the support Zephyr and Jams going at it behind the tier 1 tower at the moment. Jams will have to be a little bit cautious. If Cuckoo didn't have this creep wave, he probably would try and go for the Ogre kill, but instead, we'll just try and deal with the case now. You know, one thing I thought about as well, John, this Quap Arcana, I was thinking about it. Do you think that the animation, right? The whole whipping animation. Do you think that's kind of a broken feature? Because it feels nicer to last hit with it. Does it not?
Yeah, I think it does still have a project. Like, remember that one time we were in Showcase in the DC? It did still have the dagger with the melee animation. So I think it's a psychological thing ever, but it shouldn't give you an actual practical gameplay advantage in that sense.
No, I don't think it's a pay-to-win feature or anything, obviously, but it just feels so much better.
Oh, yeah, that I can't disagree with it. It just must feel nice for anyone with that item to just right-click closer, and we have seen a lot of quad players opt to stick closer because of that.
Really, we really have. It's kind of ridiculous how close they've been getting, but kind of forgotten that it's a range hero now. I wonder how new players will feel in like a year's time when they assume that Quap might be a melee hero. They have no clue. No clue that she's actually ranged because of the daggers. You know, they just see a whip and they're like, oh, she must be melee, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I'd have the same confusion with Monkey King, although Savage is being harassed down a good amount here.
He's in trouble. Zeph's got the dragon tail out. Cuckoo. No, he's actually going to back off. Just a bit afraid of where Jabs could be on that Ogre, and now Jabs will show himself, but they won't go all the way for the kill onto that Luna. I think they're more than satisfied to just leave Savage on very, very low HP, but now DJ's he's looking for an arrow, but the neutral kick actually blocked the target, so Zephyr will keep running, but the first blood will come out. DJ does still manage to pick it up, and now Cuckoo does get a trade onto 23 Savage, but he may also die. In fact, no, he's going to blink TB. DJ, can you find the arrow? Not in time.
Ooh, yeah, it's still a lot more goal for Fnatic with the first blood coming out, but you do slow down Savage severely, and you force the early rotation out from DJ, so you're freeing up your side lanes, you're still finding a bit more, and I think overall Geek Fam's not going to be too upset about that.
That they shouldn't be. Look down at that bot lane, Ice, he's still just stacking up that creep wave and pulling it back towards his own tier 1 tower. On the Timbersaw, it's really hard to stop this if you are the support Grimstroke. He'll go for the Ink Spawn now to Ice, but he's got max reactive armor stacks right now. He's gonna have to constantly have them up because he's got a double creep wave, so there's just no way to stop him from doing this. In fact, he'll chase down Whiteman for a little bit, but now Raven's going to rotate over. They are about to hit that 5-minute mark, but he's got a triple stack going now.
This is the point where the Timbersaw just kind of gets out of control. You don't really deal with him. Raven finding pretty much equivalence of free farm here, so that's one boon for Geek Fam, that their Monkey King will have that early start. You just have to kind of contend that Ice will pretty much be free to do what he wants come mid-game.
Yeah, I don't think Ice cares about the gold advantage at all. He knows how the hero works like the back of his hand. He's going to be fine with however it goes. But Inswell now coming in with the Boundless Strike. He's going to get stunned up, but he will just chain away. And all the HP he just lost is going to be regened up within a couple seconds.
Tower is under attack.
It was just fine. In fact, he goes back in after. Warrior is going to die. Raven now loses his treads.
Has been slain.
Anti-sights and didn't really micro it too well. And it looks like that's his lane now.
Yeah, it's pretty painful for Raven to lose out in those treads. Just makes it a bit harder to find his clean last hits, and surprised that he actually took the bait from Ice. Like, you do not chase the Timbersaw at this point. Just focus on that farm, Raven. Try to item advantage in that case.
It's the only thing you can do. Lane, Jab's going to be chased down, but he'll go for a TP. He can't go read the side. It's going to be there time for Carl. He just waited for the last second. And that was the first Reaper sight of the game. Just a nice, easy up there for Carl. He's also harassed Moon out the Moon. He's actually on the bot lane now.
Radiant's bottom tower is
Okay, that
under
was there.
attack.
Yeah, they threw a lot of bugs down bot from Geek Fam to find that kill. DJ's movement just a bit too late to bail Ice out, and they do finally find that kill. That does free the top lane up. You are seeing Savage catch up there.
Mid lane, arrow taken perfectly there from DJ. They'll get Carl, and that's going to be a big win there for the Ember, as Moon was struggling just a little bit up against that Necrophos, but now that'll give him a chance to catch up.
Yeah, it's a key again for Fnatic to get that timing on Moon. You need the early Urn into the Spirit Vessel to counteract the DK, to counteract and even the Necrophos, and once that's up and running, Moon should be able to show his presence a lot more in the side lanes.
That is true. Bot lane again, 3 heroes are going to be down there up against Ice. Ice does see a courier there for a second, but he's just going to ignore it. Now they are looking to try and make a play onto him again. Ingswell going to be in there. Ice is going to try and chain away, but he uses it a bit too early on. And now Boundless Strike comes in once again. Raven should be able to secure the kill and does. A very easy one out there for the Monkey King. Now, I suppose that's key, right? If you could just keep doing it that over to Ice, he's not really going to get to that point where he's out of control.
Yeah, definitely is going to hurt that early farm for the Timbersaw. We have seen Timbersaw in that situation before. The one biggest issue is that you are giving free farm top, and you don't quite have enough in Moon to expect him to pick up that slack.
That's always the thing with Ice. Like, in fact, never mind that for a second. Moon's getting chased down again. Throws the fake, Dragon Tail gonna be there. Carl does have the Reaper sight, he just needs time, but Moon will rim it out. Looks like they won't bother trying to chase him down, but Moon now gonna turn back around. Gotta be a little bit careful about his position.
Radiant's middle tower is under
They
attack.
do have vision on him right now, they ping him out. Remnant up to the high ground again. But nobody's there anymore, and he's just gonna go for the outpost still. Now Zephyr, Chakram going to be available, so Zephyr might just be dead. He gets chained up as well, and Ice will happily take the kill for himself. And that's the thing with Ice. Like, he'll die a couple times like this, but I think Fnatic love doing this because it always allows Savage to just get a free lane for himself. And, I mean, that Luna, if she free farms for a while, it's going to be problematic. In fact, mid lane, they have found Carl again with that arrow, and Carl is going to die very easily. Sav drew that one with the Dominator with the follow-up stun, and he's going to be able to just free farm on this Luna.
Yeah, this really hurts the timing of Geek Fam now. I think, again, they've got the lid on Ice, sure, but they have given Savage a lot of leeway just to free farm the jungle. Your Necrophos is off to a bit of a slower start, and you are seeing a lot more from Fnatic to pressure Raven down bot.
Yeah, Ice finds his second kill of the game. White will die now. He has been left alone top for quite a while now. Jab's going to try and harass him out while he's taking the outpost, and now the arrow does connect from DJ. Raven, though, in there to try and help out. Cuckoo does end up dying, and now Zephyr will also rotate in, and they will take down the Ogre. But they don't get what they came for. They wanted that outpost back. That means both outposts will go away with Fnatic.
Yeah, it's a really strong strong EXP injection for Fnatic, and this hurts GeekFam a ton because Zephyr on the support DK needs to hit level 6. So he needs every single tool he can get, and he's stuck at 4. Without any outpost EXP, this is going to slow down the timing of your support DK. It gave Fnatic a lot of room to play, even see Ice take that tier 1 bot. So Fnatic now are starting to find that early space, starting to find a bit of that and you can expect pretty soon Moon to be a lot more active. I mean, he's already playing on the opposite side of the map, so he's giving all the space in the world away to Savage, and it has paid off so far for for Fnatic.
They're looking at that mid lane right now. Moon, he's going to make himself known there, but Carl will eventually just run off. It's like Carl's just trying to rush those guiding rings at the moment, while top lane, Ice is going to be in trouble again. They're rotating that Necrophos up to get a Reaper Scythe, but whoa, that's a lot of damage from Ice. Carl's still waiting, but Moonlight Shadow does peek in now. Stroke of Fate does connect. Looks like they do have the protection underneath that Sentry Ward, and with that Reaper Scythe, that will mean Ice will be dead once again. As GeekFam will try setting up to try and go after that top tier 1 tower. But Carl looks like he's going to be forced back into the mid lane now. I suppose we'll see if they can actually secure that top tier 1.
Yeah, it's not the worst now that you have level 6 in Zephyr, so the push potential is definitely there. It's not as fast as Fnatic, so I think when you have the threat up a Luna, it is a lot faster for Fnatic's side in that sense, but it does look like GeekFam should be able to secure that objective without too much of a tussle. Fnatic is a bit too busy across the map to really care about that one.
Well, they already found the bottom tier 1, it's just no point trying to contest that. They're just going to take this time to farm up a little bit. They are still waiting for that Spirit Vessel on Moon. I think once you've got that Vessel on Moon is the time where you're going to feel comfortable to start trying to go after more kills. Ice as well. It looks like he's just working directly towards a Lotus Orb. So not actually bothering for the pipe or anything like that. He just wants straight Lotus. And I don't really see too much of a problem with that, because he's going to be able to purge off quite a lot here from GeekFam. As well as that, I guess it does make you double think the Reaper side, just in case that Lotus Orb comes out last second from Ice.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Fnatic, they've rotated up top to try and help out Ice. GeekFam are still sticking around there, but Jack's going to show himself now. Radiant jumps down the tree. Looks like they are going to try and kill off Wyvern, and they do, and Zephyr now falling very, very low. Remnants will be enough from Moon.
Discover what lies
The only man to get out there after that top lane was Raven on the Monkey King. But now Fnatic is going to try and start forcing that tier 1 top tower to go down.
Yeah, it's not the fastest when you don't have your big right-click heroes around, but we've seen Timber's Hoss just kind of slowly whittle away. But their presence, though, not going to commit too hard. They want to play aggressive, they TP out, they're trying to hunt Cuckoo.
Cuckoo, he did spot out an auto attack that was there, although Arrow would have been on point. The TP was just a little too quick there for Cuckoo. Does himself out. You do now have that vessel up on, so I do believe this is that point where they can actually try and deal with Carl and the Necrophos properly. And they may feel the necessity to do so, as well as Carl has been sitting on the top of the net worth board for quite a while now. So he's going to be a lot of X being old. However, in that Radiant jungle now, they're trying to chase down DJ. DJ on the run for a double away. Now Savage comes in with the Eclipse. Sonic Wave is there from Cuckoo, but does nothing. Meanwhile, Wukong's command out from Raven, but he lets it go as Moon was on the chase. Cuckoo eventually killing off DJ on that Marauder, but now they go after Zephyr on the DK. Does go down. I seeing if you can even spot out anything else He does get a courier, but doesn't fight the final auto attack. Now White are going to try and turn around there with Carl, but this could be dangerous. Moon does jump in. Reaper side this out. Ice side still alive though. It wasn't enough. The Zone's form is there from Carl, but it's not going to mean anything. Not only you got Moon around that end block.
Radiant's middle tower.
With that, they go off the T1 mid tower.
That's really not how Geek Fam wanted that fight to unfold. I don't think they expected Savage to be that active early on, willing to fight with his Eclipse, but that's a danger you take up against a Luna. They can dish the damage out, and Goku with just level 1 Blink is very vulnerable when he overextends like that without the information. So Savage makes use of that Eclipse, Cuckoo gets punished, and it fell apart from there. Geek Fam, they've got to be a bit careful in taking those fights. They need to be clumped up. They can't afford to overextend with their Queen of Pain. They have to stick fairly close to spread the damage out amongst themselves.
The Geek Fam not fight right up against the Luke is going to outscale you eventually. Like they need to continue trying to apply that pressure, but the past couple team fights just haven't been working out their way, and even now Raven gonna go down up that top lane. DJ and Moon just take him out by themselves. The Zephyr on the support DK just had to TP out of there, but now you're losing this Monkey King in these team fights, and it's just, how are you going to deal with this Fnatic side mid to late game if you're not beating them right now?
Yeah, they've got to find their early power spikes. I think the slowdown you're seeing on Zephyr is hurting them a ton. Needs the Blink to be able to follow up with Cuckoo. That's their best initiation right now, and they haven't been able to get that. So they're trying to give Zephyr some space to farm, and once that blinks up, I think you fix some of that initiation problem you have. They do smoke up though. They really want to find some pick hops.
Well, they spotted out Jabs, but Jabs already got the Observer award. Now Raven's going to go after him. Ice going to show up there with DJ. Who does connect onto Zephyr, and Ice is bursting out the DJ very hard. They try for the full-scale team fight, reach the side, does go out with the Jabs. He does finally die. Now the Sonic Wave is out, but with the Eclipse there from Savage, he just took down so many people. Wyman even still getting chased by Moon, will also end up dying. Now Cuckoo trying to TP away, but DJ, he got the Yules off, he has the arrow, he'll wait out the chains and now gets the arrow off. It's going to be a triple kill out for Savage, and it's a 4-for-1 trade.
All of that for an Ogre. Not a worthwhile kill for Geek Fam, and again, they're just being forced to play aggressive up against Fnatic when they throw everything they have out on heroes they don't really want dead in the first place. So Fnatic building up a solid lead, still finding a lot of farm on their cores. Like, you look at Savage, he's number 1 in that port now. He was at number 3 a few moments ago. So our Luna's definitely starting to take control. Geek Fam, they need certain items to be done. They need the BKBs to be ready to stop that damage coming out from the Timbersaw, from the Luna. And you look at Raven, it's coming out, it's just not coming out fast enough. This is delaying his damage output. So it's a trade-off you take. Survivability for damage, and this is gonna hurt them if they don't manage to overcome this deficit anytime soon.
It's the problem as well with the Monkey King. You kind of depend on fighting to get gold. You don't really flash farm very well on that MK. Like, Primal Spring is quite nice to farm with, but that's really all he's got. So he's going to try and get back to it and just secure that BKB you talked about. See if he's allowed to do so. As Fnatic, they may just get quite aggressive once they spot him out. At least for now, they're going to start pressuring that bottom tier 2 tower.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Spreading the thing, but they're not
Radiant structures are fortified.
They're having a jumping off the Moon, but I don't believe they'll be able to kill him off. Not without Carl there on that Necrophos.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
Even
attack.
he may not be very interested right now, but he is slowly making the walk
Radiant's
up.
bottom tower has fallen.
That bottom tier 2 tower, however, does now fall. Fnatic do claim it for themselves, and with that tower being taken, if they so wish, they can go ahead and defend. In fact, they're going to Moonlight Shadow up and go onto Cuckoo, who does get also caught by the arrow. And it's going to be a very easy top 3 pick off. In fact, they fight over the kill. And now Fnatic, straight up towards the north, up to that top lane, where they try to chase down Geek Geek Fam. Geek Fam, they aren't TPing yet. They're just waiting in the tree line, seeing if they can wait this out. Fnatic won't really bring everyone up, they only bring DJ, so they may go for this Mirana kill. Down the strike, but he just leaps away. Zephyr could not get in range for the Dragon Tail.
Yeah, it's again, the DK without the blink isn't the best way to start these fights. Geek Fam, they need to land our other combinations for that Grimstroke. It's just unable to consistently enough. And you see Fnatic again pulling away. You look at Ice. He's building into that Hood of Defiance, more than likely into the pipe if he feels the need. And at that point, a lot of this early damage coming out from Geek Fam is mitigated. Like, you are not going to be able to burst that Timbersaw anymore. The timing issue comes into play. And you look at the build-up and say, even Carl, he's actually saving up for the Radiance, which I don't mind for a long game. It's just that when you are playing the long game against Fnatic's draft, that Luna most certainly has a lot more scalability than Monkey.
Oh, Zephyr, top lane, getting caught out, and he tries to survive, but the damage there from Ice is just way too high. Whirling Death up against a DK just melts that Dragon Knight. They found another. Raven has been caught out in this Monkey King. Chained up, Jabs is there, the arrow connects, Moon will take the kill. And immediately, the smoke will come out now from Fnatic. They're just not going to let up with this draft. They'll keep running down the side of Geek Fam. Well, we will see the side of Geek Fam just trying to back off for a little bit, but Cuckoo could be in trouble again. In fact, never mind Cuckoo. Look at Carl and that Necrophos. Moon does not spot him out. He goes for another. Instead, they'll go on to the easy kill for White. They'll get the Grimstroke. Now they'll see Carl mid. Carl not really back off yet. Savage will go, and now Moon does jump in. Zephyr does go to the Dragon Form, but a great dodge on that Dragon Tail front from Moon. Arrow gets blocked up, that Dragon Knight doesn't matter. The Sonic Wave, the Eclipse, all being thrown out. The Sonic Wave was decent, but Ice still on top of Carl. He will eventually back up, go back after that. Oh, mid.
The tower has fallen.
And although they don't really find the Necrophos, who cares? They're just finding all the objectives.
Yeah, there's nothing Geek Fam can do to stop this. Like, they have to find a lot more farm on their heroes. You are nearing the BKB timing for Raven. That's going to be a nice little spike for the Monkey King. The blink from Zephyr is just constantly delayed. I think that's what's hurting them the most. You need the DK to get up in there, get the Dragon Tail off, get the control on one. And as long as Zephyr doesn't have that item, I think Geek Fam's just going to constantly struggle as you see Fnatic really pull ahead. They've got the Hood of Defiance on Ice, so this Timbersaw is just pretty much unkillable now with all the armor and resist he has. You're gonna have to kind of just try to survive through his damage, but we're still at the point where Timbersaw dishes a lot of punishment out.
Have you seen the difference in levels right now between these heroes? Like, the DJ's possible Mirana is 14. And Zephyr's DK is still level 8. Just hits 9 now. But it's just kind of ridiculous how far apart they are. You look at Cuckoo, he's been playing with that level 1 Sonic Wave for I don't even know how long now. He's still not level 12. He needs one more creep for that. It's just such a... Moon is literally 6 levels ahead of Cuckoo right now. The only saving grace is going to be Carl and that Necrophos who's sitting at level 16. But even he's still behind. He's almost on par with the possible Mirana.
Yeah, it's been rough. Fnatic has shut down the map. They've snowballed with their kills, and they've kept constant control over those outposts throughout both the 10 and 20 minute mark. So Geek Fam has not been finding the EXP there. They haven't really gone, and I mean, they've tried to fight around those areas. It's been messy, to say the least. So they haven't been able to catch up in EXP. All of these factors are really hurting them. But that said, because of how far behind they are, if they find a pickoff, you could see a massive swing, at least in EXP, and that could help the cause. Oh no. Oh boy.
Shadow, they're gonna find the big one. Carl, arrowed up, really can't sustain this much damage and Moon. There's the Tani being placed. They do all get the Tani. They place so many beforehand. And now Zephyr as well, going down on the DK. And he was getting closer and closer to that blink dagger. I believe he was about 200-300 gold off, but He does end up dying again. And now Fnatic, knowing that there's no way that Geek Fam can fight back, will go for an easy Roshan play.
Yeah, I think one thing for Carl there, like he was just farming the creep wave with Death Pulse, he was farming the camp. I think when he saw it fly out to something that wasn't there, he must have felt so bad. Like that's just like a horror movie, man. You're just farming the creep wave and suddenly it flies out here, oh god, I'm dead.
Yeah, it was a bit of a fight there for our poor Necro.
To the dire.
Raven doing the only thing he can right now on the Monkey King, and that's just split pushing the top lane, just not allowing the creep wave to go near their tier 2 top tower, which is the only tier 2 they have left, by the way, on the side of Geek Fam. Meanwhile, Fnatic have only lost one tier 1 tower. That's just how badly this game is going for Geek Fam at the moment. With a 15k net worth lane on Fnatic, you know, I said that the game's going to be close, John. So Fnatic obviously trying to prove me wrong. This is a complete, I don't know if you call it an outplay, but it does seem that way. I don't think it was a pure outdraft. Just, they're just really playing on right now, Fnatic.
They really are. I mean, they're up, they're ready to go. There was a bit of a slow start, like Moon's lane wasn't quite clean. You were seeing Carl pull ahead. Savage wasn't finding free farm early on. It was a bit better for Raven, but they just managed to carry it out. I think Geek Fam, if you recall early in this match, they were trying to catch out Ice, but that really wasn't here to watch out for. We've seen a lot of teams do this. It's Ice Hero, but when you invest so much movement to lock down that off lane, you give so much space to the safe lane and even the mid laners to find their space in their farm. Those rotations hurt Zephyr so much. Like, you look at the support DK, you talked about the levels, it's not getting any better. The farm is slowly progressing, but you're talking about the naked DK with 2 bracers, brown boots, and blink. He is literally just there to stun, maybe get the breed fire off. You can't expect Zephyr to get anything else in these fights, and because of that, you're losing the potency of this DK. They haven't been able to pressure towers because they haven't been able to fight near objectives for a very long time.
Kind of crazy. Zephyr just holding the Philosopher's Stone right now, just trying to get the rest of the gold that way. So that's how rough things are. Cuckoo just Spirit Vessel Blade Mail, no charges on the Spirit Vessel. And I mean, look, on the brighter side of things, I think it's kind of good that Carl switched his item build now. He's not going for that Radiance anymore, he's just going for a Lotus Orb. I don't know where they were going to fit in a Radiance.
Yeah.
Maybe he felt like he needed to just have that much damage output over time to be able to carry his team through this game, because Raven's Monkey King probably going to start coming off quite hard now. I mean, nobody else is really able to farm or get XP, so they are depending a bit on Carl. But I don't think Radiance was going to be the play of this game.
No.
I don't really know what the play is, though, in all fairness. So it's just like, defend high ground for as long as you possibly can, and maybe Fnatic might make some mistakes, or maybe outplay them, and after a team fight or 2 of winning, you could probably push it back towards the Fnatic side of things, and just, you know, Geek Fam could pull ahead, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's just the timer starts to get really, really rough. I think when you ditch that Radiance, you do opt for that earlier pace, right? Like, the issue is you're just not seeing damage. Like, Raven, with his build, he had to go for the BKB. So that early cliff you were talking about in the Monkey King, I think it's approaching a bit faster. Even with this Desolator coming out for Raven, I don't think that's going to amplify their damage enough. Maybe the supports get a bit squishier. I guess you could tear through DJ. You most definitely don't want to try Jabs. He is fairly tanky with the Dragon Scale on. It's a bit hard to deal with, but you could pin down DJ if you had a control. So maybe they build off that way once they have these defensive items up. Beyond that, I think you are still seeing some issues there, despite this item switch out. Still, just a bit more of a wait. TeamSpeak issues. See that, Mike? TeamSpeak still being used.
Hey, you fix TeamSpeak issues, John? You download Discord and use that.
Oh man.
Oh, TeamSpeak. What a program.
Dyer's top tower is under attack.
It's legacy stuff, Mike. Okay, it was big once, and it still kinda is big.
I used TeamSpeak once in my life. One time.
Oh, I remember that one time.
That was when I had to cast an NA tournament, and they insisted I use TeamSpeak rather than Discord for some reason. That was it was tough, John. Let me tell you. There was some connection issues to say the least.
It's something, but you know, it doesn't help the fact that Geek Fam eventually unpause and have to deal with the issues they have in game as well. So problems outside, problems inside. There's a smoke from Fnatic. It's not like there's any vision from Geek Fam left besides that lane ward still.
See if DJ could just land a nice blind arrow or something, or just scout out with that arrow in general. Yeah, I've got that double damage rune down bot lane, but nobody's really noticed it. There's no vision on that rune. Savage gonna start moving into that tier 3, of course, with the bloodlust on the siege creep as well as Savage. It's gonna be a lot of damage coming into that tier 3 tower. They need to take that siege creep down ASAP. The jump in, Zep going after that Luna. A lot of damage being dealt with here. Savage does have the Aegis. We'll pop the mantra, we'll lose the Aegis. Arrow barely missing up there on the Necrophos. If they kill anyone right now, none of them have buyback. So they could theoretically end the game if team fight one Fnatic, and they may understand this. Sometimes you just have to guess. Zephyr gonna jump in with the Green Dagger, Soulbind there as well, but Zephyr, he does fall. Loon jumping in as well. They're trying to get that Loon around there. Savage will not die. Now Raven trying to fight back up against the Ember. He will just run it out, and the Sonic Wave doesn't really connect. It only really got jabs on the Ogre. And so now with the Wukong's down, the Sonic Wave down, you just go back in. Nice just planting those branches down. Arrow beautifully connecting there on the Carl. Nice does get the kill regardless of it in that tree. And now, secondary rats. They've just got everything for us.
Yeah, there's nothing left from Geek Fam for defense. No ults up. They can't punch this.
Arrow being taken there from Zephyr just to protect Carl, but that will cost him his life. They give him the tip as well, just to rub it in. Obviously, he didn't really have a choice. Carl was probably going to get dived on a dive if he didn't take that arrow. And on the brighter side for Geek Fam, they did still have that tier 2 top tower, so there's no way to claim Megas, and Fnatic are unwilling to go for tier 4s. So it's back up to the top lane for Fnatic.
Yeah, buys Geek Fam some time. Question is if that time's enough. You look at Savage, he finished up his butterfly. So the physical damage you might be seeing from Raven, that's not going to be doing as much anymore to our Luna. And I think with that, they're just going to take the tier 2. They're going to keep going. I think even without the, they're feeling very confident about their lineup, and they know Geek Fam is just tied up in their base. They can't quite go out the farm as much, and they're constrained in how much they can grow. So Fnatic basically have a bit of a lid on this game. The Geek Fam need to find a miracle pickoff to really turn it around. They need multiple pickoffs to really bounce back here.
Yeah, I mean, with a 23k net worth lead, Fnatic not going to be feeling too afraid. Geek Fam, they do have a chance at this, but they need to win this team. I don't believe they can defend against Megas with this draft either. It's not going to be the easiest defense. It's going to be very hard to play that if you have to. Never mind, with that blink, X-Well goes off, DJ falling low, does get reached for first and time. In fact, it was Savage. And it does end up going down the Luna. And And now Sight's going to be in trouble. He'll go down as well, it looks like. They do get that true mastery. They go for more now with the ink swap primal springing up from Raven. He doesn't connect on anyone, but they'll keep going. Jams, however, does turn around for Cuckoo, but now Raven, he does go down as well. They're just kind of out, going back in. Whiteman, he's in big trouble. He has no friends left, but he is probably just going to die anyway. A double kill out from Moon. And there's the GG call. So it looked kind of amazing to start. They did find the Luna kill. And they also got the Timber Sword, but they just turned around and killed Raven.
Yeah, that was a really far push forward from Geek Fam. I understand he needed a lot more kills to bounce back. Fnatic, they played it well. They had a bit of a rough start, but not rough enough. They gave Savage...
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban.
Welcome, we are back for Fnatic vs Geek. Hi, John. We've been moved over BTS 1 once again. That means, that we are to greet our
Team ban.
comrades, I guess. Hello Americans. How are you all today? Pleasure to see you all. They get to tune into some quality SEA Dota, John. It must be a great time for them.
It should be, as they're in for a treat. Game 1, the way it was pretty explosive. Fnatic, they were bleeding some ground early, arguably not much. Geek fam, they were focusing on wrong here. They were focusing on Ice on his Timbersaw, which we've seen a lot of teams kind of try to punish, which just gives them space for Savage. So didn't quite play out Geek fam's way. Ended 10-30 if I recall right, and it's pretty dominant from Fnatic. So doubt whether or not Geek fam will be able to fix that. They do ban out the Timbersaw, so that helps the cause. At least they take out that pesky Ice hero off the bat. So there's that.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't make that mistake of letting that Timbersaw through. It's a bit challenging with Fnatic though, right? Because you've got so many heroes to think about. If you don't ban out Ice's heroes, you've got to worry about Savage. There's Moon as well, which people tend to underestimate how good Moon can be if you give him those particular heroes. He can really step up and carry the team himself if he needs to. Geek fam, however, with their draft last game, they had the opening they love to go for. They had that Quap DK. They had a great draft in my opinion, but they just never could take off up against a team like Fnatic, which kind of concerns me for this next game. If you had that kind of opening that we've seen Geek fam dominate with every single time they get, how are they going to do without it?
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit different. I think the biggest standout from game 1 was the fact that they did go with a Zephyr DK, which is not so common. I think they've done it only once before. Really didn't pay off then. Went off to a too slow start. So we'll see whether or not that's something they're going to toss Zephyr into. I think you might look for different Zephyr heroes here. The Quap would be a bit better. Still, openings from both sides. Geek Fam start with the Ember, which we've seen a couple of times. Fnatic with an opening we've seen once before, right? The Witch Doctor Jug, with the sustain you get, is actually really hard to deal with. You banned out the AA on Geek Fam side as well, so you're going to have to look for another way to stop that sustain, because this is a lot of sustain coming out from
10
Fnatic.
seconds remaining.
I wonder as well, right? I was going to bring this up earlier on, but is this the point where Fnatic, they have a really easy game one and they start memeing? Right, because we've seen this every single time from Fnatic. They dominate game one, and then game two, they decide we're going to have a bit of a memeier draft. They start drafting things that aren't so meta. And I'm not saying Witch Doctor Juggernaut is bad by any sense, but we don't exactly see that being an opening duo from any team, let alone Fnatic. So I'm asking the question now, John, are they beginning to meme again?
Perhaps. I mean, you look at their bans, they ban out their own heroes.
Yourself, John, or something's happening. Very, very quiet.
Ooh.
Oh, hello, John.
All right.
I can hear you again.
Okay, it's my internet. I just saw Discord flash red, so you know how it is still. Whether or not they'll meme, I mean, you look at the bans, Mike, they ban out the Shaker Morph themselves, which they like to run. So I think that says a lot about the contents they have. Still, Geek Fam, you can't meme against them, and they are number 2 right now. They did start with a Grimstroke to follow up that Ember. So you've got the Grim Ember combination, very potent if you can get the combos off. I think it's a lot more solid with the Ember Spirit. So there's a little bit more leeway there for Geek Fam. Not too off the mark for whatever they run. It still leaves me a bit worried for what might come out. Like Fnatic, the Chen's not banned out, and that's either an Ice 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 or Jabs hero that plays into the sustain. I think at this point, it seems like a fairly straightforward pick if they wanted to go all in on just staying alive.
They're going to have a very long think about it. They do go for the Nyx Assassin. We've seen that many times into the Ember. Even into the Grimstroke with the Inkswell. It can be quite a devastating kind of hero to have. We've seen DJ play this as a Pons for many times, and he does a very good job of it. Geek Fam now, the world is still your oyster with this draft. Like, they've got so many options available to them. It's just a matter of what you want to go for. They have the DK, they have the Quap, they could go back for those if they want. They can have a think about it now. I think there's just too many options.
Yeah, I think the Quap gets a bit harder with Nyx in the pool, although they still take it. It leaves me a bit worried. It's really easy for the Nyx to break up that combo with Spiked Carapace, and really easy to punish with your Mana Burn, so you have to watch out for how far you toss that. Quap still leaves it a bit open for Geek, as we have again seen either the Ember or the Quap played by Carl, Cuckoo, and Zephyr. So you've got 3 positions to throw any of these heroes to. It's still fairly open for Geek Fam. Fnatic a bit more locked in. It's again likely that we see the Nyx Witch Doctor support, which isn't the most common, but isn't too off the mark. Still have to find out what exactly Fnatic wants from this Jug Witch. If it is for that sustain, I think you'll maybe look for either the Dazzle or the Chen coming out to get that done, or if you're looking for push, maybe the Enigma, just to give you a lot of push for the heal you have. Those are going to be solid options here. Even the Beastmaster isn't actually banned out, so that's surprising that both teams have let that slide through without picking it up. That's been a priority ban for a lot of teams.
Well, Fnatic take the DK. Now, whether that's going to be an Ice 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 DK, whether they're going to throw that mid, we don't know yet. We have no clue what they're up to here. But they do go for that DK pickup, maybe just not wanting to give it away to Geek Fam again. They don't have the Timber this time, so you haven't got the easiest way to deal with that Dragon Knight even in the support role.
10 seconds
And not to mention, you could have run the mid DK and made the Ember play as a pulse 4. We've seen Zephyr do that before as well. So they won't give that combo away to Geek Fam. You did point out, though, there are still other heroes there. Like, you've got the Beastmaster if you want that kind of push potential. Not that I think it does particularly amazing up against the Jug Witch Doctor, but still a great pick. Just a matter of how they want to run that Quap. Cuckoo himself may not be feeling very good about his last performance on the flop, so he may just ask to try and play something else this game. Just a matter of what now, because you've got this Dragonite to worry about. Maybe you pick the Necrophos yourself and just run that off.
That's a possibility there. I think the Necrophos would give them some sustain on top. I just really worry about the impact of this Nyx. It makes it really easy to punish any hero with any form of AoE, Necrophos included. So if they do opt for that, you have to worry about the impact this Nyx can have in your combos. They go with the Luna, so a bit of a shake-up. They exchange heroes here. The Luna comes out, and I think there's potency here. For that Luna, they need to get early farm onto Raven for that, and kind of build the same pace you saw Savage have in game 1. So try to have a disruptive offlane there, give your Luna space to farm, be aggressive without your Luna, and by 15 to 20 minutes, the Luna should be ready. So takes a bit of cooking, but once it's done, it can play, and it's just, I think what Fnatic has can play a lot faster. We've seen Jugs not take too much time to farm up, and just join in, either with the SNY build, or the Manta build, or the Diffusal build, or the Mask of Madness. All of them not really the slowest build up, so we'll see if GeekFam is given that space. We would like that space. I love the ban from Fnatic. They take the Venge, so the aura stacking's not going to be there with this GeekFam draft, and makes it a little bit harder to maximize that Luna early.
I still do prefer this Luna though over, say, the Monkey King for a play like Raven, because Raven does when you see Raven being the most successful is when he's playing the hero where he can just escalate and farm on. And in fact, they do go for the Ogre as well straight afterwards, so they really do take a page out of Fnatic's book from that last game and just kind of go with the finishing they had. Whether it works out for GeekFam is an entirely different story, but only time will tell. Fnatic, meanwhile, they have one last pick left, 3 seconds reserve time to make this pick.
10 seconds remaining.
And it's either going to be a mid hero or an offlane hero. It's either Moon or Science that's missing. And okay, we go for Shadow Demon. I believe that's going to be a mid Shadow Demon.
No,
it's an offlane. Alright, I saw that Ice on his stream has this game. I don't know what it is, but basically he just has random heroes he has to play in the offlane. I was watching this the other day, and I know he does strange things in games. Shadow Demon offlane's a new one for me.
I feel like we've seen that once, very early on in groups, like way back. I think they've done this once, but it's still not very common, you know. They always do this, Fnatic. It looks like they're going for that route. Still, I think Shadow Demon is a core. You get the early farm, you rush the Ags. It's pretty darn good. That control you get, the damage you get out, so... And lots of value, Mike. You've got the Luna clone. The Luna's just do so much more for you, so I think that's actually a really solid last pick for... They're kidding around. They can just run this.
Okay. I mean, it makes enough sense when you put it that way. That is very true. You already have the Luna to take clones of. Obviously, the Ags, we've seen it before. You can literally spam the Purge 3 times on one hero if you just want to blow one hero up. Once you do have the Ags, especially during those, you've hit level 18, the damage is kind of insane. I believe it's something like you can deal 2.4k in total with 3 Purges or something like that. It's somewhat ridiculous, but it doesn't really make this work. It's not going to be as easy as it looks. It's still going to be a bit of a hard matchup here up against that Luna Ogre. So they are going to run the Pos 4 Grimstrike on GeekFam, so they're going to run that in the offlane there with Cuckoo. But I do think this is going to be a bit more of a challenging offlane to release for Fnatic.
Yeah, that's a word for it.
I guess you can really spam Shadow Poison quite effectively as the core Shadow Demon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that early progression is going to help. The early levels help. Again, just rushing disruption. Always really nice when you're playing against a Luna. It's really just down to ensuring that you keep that up early on. I think one thing to watch out for as well is you've got this really strong combination with the Nyx. Like, you can't possibly miss with that disruption setup. So you can look to that combo in the offlane, really take control early on if Fnatic do want to play aggressive.
say you can't possibly miss that disruption setup, John. So, I don't know if you've played any pubs before, but it tends to happen quite a lot. I assure you it's very possible to miss with the disruption, regardless of how easy it may be. So we do see DJ, he does try to score himself a goal up against Ice. Successfully do so. GeekFam, of course, looking to really try and dominate this game too. After that horrendous game 1 they had, it was quite a stomping from Fnatic, to say the least. Raven's actually rotating down in the bot lane as that Luna for now as well. So they may choose to run the off lane Luna, maybe in an aggressive tri lane. That could be very, very effective with an over Grimstroke support lineup.
See you later, nerds.
Yeah, I think that also takes away any issues you might have with going up against that Shadow Demon early, so they're just trying to give Raven a pretty good lane to start off with as well, so he can get that early farm to start snowballing.
This is gonna leave Cuckoo a little bit susceptible here after that top lane, though, is it not? Like, I understand he'll have the blink when he does hit level 2, but it's gonna be a bit rough. Like, you've got the Shadow Poison that Ice can spam out. You're gonna have DJ there with the Impale. They may eventually just force DJ to come down bot to help out with this aggressive tri lane, but he'll miss the first Impale of the game. I still worry about how Cuckoo deals with the Shadow Poison spam.
Yeah, he's not quite set up for it. Doesn't have a wand for the early spam, so Ice is just gonna build up those stacks and get some really nice early damage on to Cuckoo. It's
Savage taking a lot of damage, but Jabs was there with the paralyzing cast to make sure they couldn't actually keep going. But that was just a level 1 combo coming out from GeekFam. They can easily just go again if they wish, and they will. There'll be the stroke of fate with the Defiant Blast from Jabs. No, he'll still survive. Eventually, Zephyr does get the final auto attack to secure the kill. But if this keeps up, Savage is going to find no form of farm on this jug.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a slow start for Savage, considering how much pressure GeekFam is putting down bot. I think the one thing is that GeekFam's slowing up their EXP progression. So Savage is still gonna hit 6 at a good time, and as long as he can get that done, in certain key moments, you can still find a nice kill for yourself.
Of course, in the mid lane, you'll also see Moon there up against Carl. They're actually going at it right now. Carl might be pushing a bit too far. He does very far up with Moon, getting blocked by his own creep wave, but now will turn around. He has the Dragon's Breath in just a few seconds. Baines comes out now from Carl, but Moon is trying to bait him back in. No, he misses the breath. It was a nice attempt. Does not work out for him, and that was completely blind out from Moon as well. But Carl's completely out of regen, and Moon already has this inbuilt regen, so he doesn't really need to worry. They do end up killing off Jabs down the bot lane, and now Moon does go down the mid lane. Carl finds him anyway.
Yeah, Moon walked right into the T1 range, so he popped a couple right clicks and Carl gets to live on, not punished for just staying here with no regen. That's still a reset for Moon, I suppose, when he's back in. Gotta watch out for that breed fire.
Right, you do. Looking back up the top lane, Cuckoo is not actually having as much of a struggle as you would once assume. He's actually leading in terms of last. It's all was, now Ice is, but he's doing just fine if he's solo up against the Shadow Demon. Bot lane DJ has rotated down to try and help out, and now Zephyr is going to be in trouble. That Grimstroke about to die, but he will get a very fire. Now the Inkswell will come back up. Raven will turn around now, but they've got to be careful. Savage is doing a lot of damage with that spin. They do connect the Impale as well, but now they'll turn back around onto the jump. There'll be a loosened beam, but it won't be quite enough. And now the cast comes back up, bouncing towards Whiteman. He won't die. Savage will salve up. And somehow everyone down that bot lane does survive.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth there, and I mean, it looks like they really just want these cores to have that early farm. I think the only time you'll see Fnatic to maybe start pulling ahead in regen is when you do have Jabs hit if he opts for a 1-1-1 build, we see often, I think you've got a bit more space there for Fnatic to try to draw out those engagements.
Mid lane again, Moon's going at it here up against Carl. Doesn't get the Dragon Tail off and doesn't actually have enough damage with the Breathe Fire. Carl will just pop the Flame Guard, pop some Bottle Charges and turn back around now. Very back and forth in this mid lane as continuous attempts to try and kill each other off, and it's not something you see too often with an Ember vs DK matchup. Usually they stagnate quite a bit in this mid lane. Carl and Moon have really been at each other's throats. Back bot lane, Whiteman does end up killing off Savage.
Yeah, that's really important for GeekFam. They're investing a lot on this tri-lane, a lot more than Fnatic is, and they need every single kill they can find. So just slowing Savage down is great. Gives them a little bit more EXP to sustain the tri-lane. The progression of all of the supports in this game, though, are really slowed down. Jabs, you look at DJ, Whitemon, and Zephyr, it's not very fast, and this is going to hurt that progression. You do have your offlaners having a better time, like Ice is at 5, Kuku's just about to hit that point. So that's an early start for those heroes at the cost of these supports.
A very easy kill down a bot lane onto one. Yeah, they just chased him down while he was trying to contest that neutral pool that was going on the side. Zephyr and Raven weren't really able to help him out at all as they were just trying to farm by that tier 1 tower. Allows Savage to try and get himself back into this lane. Raven is still dominating though at 29-6. Now paralyzing cast, DJ is going to be there with the Impale. Savage is up with the spin. Raven's just trying to run away, but the Melodic may just pop him out. Still trying to run. He should be dead here. They will get DJ, or maybe they won't. He's still running, but eventually does go down. Now the idea is if they can get jabs on the Doctor, be a positive trade. Stroke of Fate, Fire Blast will be there, but the Healing Ward and Seal Tower will protect jabs on that Witch Doctor. They just can't secure the support kill.
Yeah, just trying to salvage that entire engagement for losing their Luna. I think with that kill, you balance out Savage's early loss as well. So it's just purely on CS now that you have Raven ahead. This should be the case as the game goes forward because the Luna can clear camps a lot nicer. But the Jug does have ways, although...
Bot lane again. Wyvern gonna go down. It's at that point now where once you go into the task and Impale, it's just a very, very easy setup for Savage. And that's just a level 2 spin. He's about to get that level 3 spin going as well in its Jug. And, well, that's basically when you start guaranteeing kills in this lane.
Yeah, it gets a lot easier to pump that damage out. I think now you have some more leeway to get rotations out in your support as well. It does look like GeekFam is the one to get that done first. They want to apply some pressure onto Moon, but he just kind of spots it and walks away.
I'll take that.
Trying to keep Carl protected on that Ember. He's just a little bit in terms of farm. But Moon has decided he's going to TP down bot. Does have that dragon form up and he wants to try and commit it ASAP. Of course, GeekFam may try and just push in that mid wave a little bit onto that tier 1 tower, but they may not have much time. Top lane, however, Ice is a die thanks to the rotations there from Whiteman and of course from Zephyr. But they are going to lose the tier 1 in the process if they don't react. They did use their TPs, so they've got to run all the way back down if they want to try and defend this. And it looks like they aren't even going to bother. They'll run down the mid lane instead. But I believe Fnatic will have plenty of time to make their way back to that mid lane and defend the tier 1 tower if necessary. So Fnatic will find themselves a very, very free tier 1.
Yeah, this sets them up quite nicely to get a bit more farm. Whereas Savage, just freeing him up to go into the jungle for safe farm now, needs to play a bit of catch up. He is slightly ahead of our Luna in terms of last hits and is actually top of net worth. But you want to maintain that, you want to build into your first big item, which looks to be in this case the Maelstrom build. Not something we've seen often from Jug now, but still, you know, something they can opt for and should allow Savage to ramp up his own farm.
Mid lane, DJ getting dived. Carl doesn't really have the chain to take him out, but now moves there with the dragon. Tell Carl he used all of his revenue to try and go after that next assassin kill. So now with the Maledict on top of him, he's probably going to die, but the Flame Guard will protect him now. Savage, meanwhile, chasing Zep with a spin. Doesn't have Omni Slash yet. With the phase boots, it should be enough to just chase him down. Meanwhile, Carl is still in trouble. They will eventually get the kill. The one to pick it up, but now mid lane Cuckoo does come in and secure the jump kill. But here comes Gats, paralyzing cast, does bounce back towards the quad, but DJ misses the impale again. So Cuckoo gonna keep running, but ultimately with the stop blocking out some of that magic damage from the Maledict is just gonna be fine. They can't get the trade.
Yeah, rather unfortunate for Fnatic. Losing Savage like that is a bit of a blow. You see Geek Fam with Raven start to pull just a bit ahead with that kill, and this is definitely helping Geek Fam a lot. They just want their Luna to be up and running ahead of the Jug. Fnatic got to be a bit careful with how far forward they put Savage, but if they find trades, it should be okay.
Oh, the DK going to be in trouble now, but Ice does go for disruption. Moon still in huge trouble. Does get chased down and killed off. Ice trying to fight back by himself. He's got a lot of attack down on everyone. Now the Death wants to fly out. Jabs should secure the kill on the Zephyr. No, he doesn't die quite yet. Whitehouse runs back in. He thought should be enough for that. Savage does come in with the Omni Slash. And Cuckoo is just trying to run away, but the spin. But the blink will also be out from the quad. Ultimately, that will be a positive trade out from Fam. They do get a 2.
Yeah, it's a lot to throw out, and losing Ice like that isn't the best, but still find a better trade. Savage carries those kills on his back, and does give him a bit of an injection. So you're seeing Savage still Raven. Although Raven is getting a lot of free space now, and this might hurt Fnatic down the line if they leave Raven alone for too long, but it looks like for now, Fnatic does just want some early objectives on the map.
That they do. And you've got a dragon after all, that's kind of what he does. But they haven't brought that DK up here, Moon. He's still in the mid lane. Meanwhile, DJ set up onto Carl, but he's going to be just fine. Run back into the mid lane and meet up with his team. Geek Fam smoked up as 3 as well. Gonna run into DJ, who will break the smoke, replace the sentry, and that should mean DJ dies. Sonic Wave will be out, however. Spike Carapace will protect for a little bit. Only they do secure the kill, however, they don't defend that T1 top tower.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger win for Fnatic. They break the smoke, they use it on a and they're in a prime position to fight back if they wanted to, although they don't have Omni, so probably not the best idea to jump into that, and they're just going to be happy to find that free objective.
With that as well, Savage should be getting very close to picking up that Maelstrom now. He is bringing out a Mithril Hammer from himself on that jump. He's going to need some kind of farming tool like that to be able to keep up with the Luna, of course, because she does have the inbuilt glaives. Raven actually opting to go for a Dragon Lance himself on that Luna. Well, we don't really know what... No, we do know what else he's going for. He is going to go into the Manta build now. So, fairly standard stuff. You did mention he should go physical build on this Luna this game, and that's exactly what he does intend to do. It's going to be a matter of whether Savage can keep up.
Yeah, it's a lot more value for Geek Fam as they do have the Ogre, so I think you don't want this to drag on too long still. DJ trying to scout out.
He does, but White can get a stun off Junk. Savage gonna lose a lot of HP, so he's just gonna spin TP away. That'll mean Fnatic just are gonna have to back everyone out. They're just trying to get control of that Geek Fam jungle and try and take it away from Raven. But Geek Fam, of course, go. Seems as though Fnatic... DK.
Yeah, it's mid low going for that mid. They've been focused on the side lanes. Once It should be a bit more successful. This is giving some space to Fnatic as well to try to farm up. You look at Ice, does have the Necronomicon 1. His farm is starting to kick into gear. It's just going to finish his Arcane Boots next. Really down to him how to itemize whether he goes for durability for his team or just more damage for the ads. It's going to be important.
Caught out here. Trying to go on successful for disruption, but he will ultimately die. Make matters worse, Carl ends up picking up the regen here. Carl jumps in. Still has the regen active, by the way. Carl will keep going, but now he's been stunned up. Soulblind will be there, however. Carl took a lot of damage, but it won't matter. Raven still secures the kill of Jab, and Carl looks like he will pick up Melody, but unless he gets the Sleight of Fist off, and he won't. He will die, and now Savage goes for the Omni. It is not to Raven, but he's not taking that much damage. Cuckoo will also jump in on that Queen of Pain, and this judge just can't finish off the kill, so Cuckoo will chase him down, understanding Spin is not available. They don't have a way to cancel the 2B. Nevertheless, mid lane, Sonic Wave does come through. Moon will die as well as DJ on that Nyx Assassin. And these two teams are going at it. Constant team fights going on. In fact, it's not even over. Cuckoo jumps in on the side. Disruption will come out. Jab's trying to follow up, and now Whiteman will stun him up with the Fire Blast. Zephyr back in there with Carl on the Ember. They'll go back onto Jab rather than try and kill off Cuckoo. The clock does die, but Ice has to also die. Now Jab's does finally go down, but Savage, he's going to make a run for it. He doesn't have Spin or TP right now, so all he could possibly do is fight back. Geek Fam, afraid of the rotation coming in from Fnatic, to back off.
From that exchange, Geek Fam is really starting to pull ahead. Not a massive lead yet. 2K 9-17 at 15 minutes in. Still the start, and you are seeing Raven widen that gap between him and Savage. So our Luna is building up, just one part away from the Manta. This is going to be a big timing for Geek Fam. I think Fnatic, they've got to be really careful with whether or not they sacrifice Savage in exchange. You need your Jug to be up as well, and just with a Maelstrom, it's not quite enough. He is going for the SNY, so he just wants to bulk up and keep that aggression, which I think is perfectly fine. It's just that he needs those items up more at first, and Fnatic needs to tighten up how they initiate. They've been kind of scattered out when they force these fights. They need to be able to disable a couple of these slippery heroes first and ensure their supports have some space to channel, especially Jabs. You need him alive with the Death Ward to really help you with the damage here.
Yeah, that you do. Of course, Cuckoo's actually gonna go for an Echo 3 book rush on that quad, which is something we can't really see every day on the Queen of Pain. That's what he wants. Bot lane, Jab's gonna get caught out of the Witch Doctor and should just die. Will use the Death Ward, but he does get tipped for it. However, Fnatic, mid lane, do start forcing that T1 tower. So I'm not sure if that's really a Geek Fam win. They're missing out on a lot of objectives here. They do get the bottom T1 at least. Their mid T1 on its last legs will just be denied off there from White.
Yeah.
So now all T1's down for Geek Fam, and to make matters worse, Moon does have that blink up now. It's just coming on the courier.
That should really help Fnatic out with their issue in starting these fights. So they've got a solid, dependable stun to start off with. Not just DJ walking around and getting spotted, which, you know, Geek Fam has been very disciplined about. They've got so many sentries on the map to ensure that this Nyx doesn't get maximized. So you're going to have to rely on Moon to jump in if you want to force fights. There you go.
Does jump in. It's gonna be easy pulse 5 there onto Whiteman. He will just die.
And die.
Gonna need a bit more than that though, I guess, for Fnatic. Like, you still want to really kill off Raven, who is sitting at almost 10k net worth now on that Luna. I believe he just needs that ultimate orb to finish off the Manta, and that's basically done after this ancient free-play bonus. Soulblind can come out mid lane. Carl gonna be able to rip it out, but the Melody will tick him out anyway. In fact, it was Ice there with the Shadow Poison that didn't secure the kill onto that Ember Spirit. They do invade that dire side triangle, trying to find out Raven, but he's already left. Now Moon looking to just deal with these Necromonicon units from Cuckoo. Those are level 3, by the way, now.
Yeah, it's a good amount of gold going away of Fnatic. You do have the Necronomicon level 3 from Cuckoo up and running. So there is more coming out from those books now. Just a bit more potency for the push as well. Gotta be a bit careful there.
Never mind. Savage will be spin TP. He didn't quite get the Fire Blast off in time, so he had plenty of time to get out of there. Overall though, do you think EFAM's winning this game? Like, in terms of net worth, obviously they are, but they've lost 3 T1 towers already. They've only taken 1 back themselves. I'm not sure if you call this a win. In fact, hold that thought, they are going to smoke up now, but Moon will blink out in time, so now the smoke has been broken. They're going to try go through the mid lane and maybe get DJ on this next assassin, but he's also out of it. So I suppose the only option left is to maybe set up that T1 mid tower, but they don't have a creep wave.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame without smoke. You mentioned GeekFam, if they're winning or not. It's 11 to 18 with just a 2k advantage. That means all of your gold's going to the Luna, so it's really down to Raven to try and carry that. I think the Luna can overtake quite nicely, but you also worry about the potency of those disruption illusions. We've seen a lot of Lunas not deal with it as well. It's an issue of a back and forth timing there still. Savage, a bit too far forward.
Okay, but top lane Savage is pretty much to spin away. He had TP off cooldown in a few seconds, but now, while that spin's gone, he's just gonna die. The dunk pick just hasn't really seemingly worked out at all quite yet for Fnatic. They're still trying to get that farm up onto Savage. He's got the Yasha, but just hasn't got the Sarge. Meanwhile, down to bot lane, Moon, Dragon Tail up onto Carl. He will also get impaled. Moon will just try and keep him away, but White has the Fire Blast. He was right underneath vision as well. So it was a very easy stun out for the Ogre. There was just no way that DK was getting out of that situation.
Yeah, I mean, GeekFam has been really disciplined about their warding. They've had a lot of sentries, they've had some pretty good obs wards as well, and with that, they go straight to the pit that is spotted out by Fnatic, so they know what's going on.
They know DJ's there on the staircase as well, so DJ might have to back off for a little bit, but GeekFam feel the same way. Shadow Poison's coming up from eyesight size. Not let them stack up too high. This Roshan attempt will be nullified, at least for now. I'll go back for a bit, I don't think.
Yeah, that should give Fnatic some breathing room before forcing a fight there. They would want Savage around to maybe follow up still. A lot more Fnatic has to work on. It's not too bad. 11 to 22, 4k disparity from that is workable. It does tell you that, again, a lot of this farm on GeekFam is on Raven and no one else. So there are some issues spreading the wealth to Cuckoo and to Carl. It's just that there's still progression there despite that. Like, Carl has the Spirit Vessel, so he's mitigating the heals coming out from Fnatic, and Fnatic haven't really maximized this DJ Nyx. It just hasn't had as much pickoffs and setups as you'd expect it to. So I think Fnatic has to try and build off of the control they do have, but they're much more interested in just trying to keep Savage safe, which is equally as important, but you are giving space away doing that.
DJ's basically in the same position that Zephyr was in last game. He's just trying to go for a blink from that Nyx, but he just can't quite get there. We are getting quite late into this mid game now, where he really does need that up if that's what he wants to go for. He's running really low in terms of hold. Fnatic just desperately trying to hold onto this T1 tower. You have the Guiding Greaves now up on Eyesight side, so there's a lot of sustained durability there on the Shadow Demon and his whole team for that matter. And are they going to try and sneak a Roshan? I don't think they get away with this. Savage is still farming the top lane and does take out the T2 top tower while they were taking that T1 mid. That'll give him enough gold to have the full Mjolnir up. So with that, perhaps you've got enough damage output now from this jump to try and go for another team fight if you are the side of Fnatic. However, you would be fighting to Raven's 10-second BKB charge. GeekFam, they have smoked up. Jumping they go for the chains onto that tragedy with the Sonic Wave now. Einstein Science gonna fall very low. Jab does go down. The two chains Einstein Science come down. Does fly out. Really killing off no one yet. Goofy does eventually pull the pop, and now Carl also will be down on the Ember. Wyman trying to turn around and kill Ice. But he'll be just fine. And so the one time Geekman actually try and smoke up and make that big team fight happen, unfortunately for them, it was without Raven. And they do end up losing a 3-1 fight, and Fnatic can easily go to the one-shot fight now.
This is the scary thing about Fnatic. Give them an opening like that, they will take a lot more. So that lead Geek Fam had, it's still pretty nice. You are seeing Fnatic support start to pull ahead, especially Ice. He's just so hard to kill off with what he's built up. He's building up an EXP, he's grabbing that blink as well to get his own easy distance closing for the pickoffs, and with this Aegis coming out here for Savage, it becomes a bit harder to commit on killing the Jug as long as Savage spaces out his spell usage on those two live.
Well, what point do you think you'll see Raven starting to join in on these team fights on this Luna? Like, that last one we just saw, it felt like if he was involved with that 10-second BKB charge, that would have been an entirely different story. He was not there, however, and even now he is still just prioritizing farm over actually fighting with his team. It kind of begs the question, like, does he outscale the Jug later on in the game?
It's a bit awkward as you go into the late game. Like, her right clicks are waves, but Jug, when you reach that point, you do have that mini slash with the Ags. I think there's a lot more openings for the Jug, so you don't want to drag it too late. Again, you always worry.
Look at Savage up with that lane. He just falls down half the HP of that tier 3 tower now. They'll put the bust on it, but there's nothing there to try and protect the tier 3 spot. I guess the creep wave's coming in. But you're at that point where Savage is going to keep split pushing that top lane, trying to force Geek Fan back. Now they can go on to Cuckoo in that mid lane with intel off D. He does also have the blinking Cuckoo. We're trying to blink away, but no, it was following him down. It cancels the TP. Cuckoo is definitely dead. The first spot placed there by Ice, and Jabs had enough damage with the Benedict. That paralyzing cast just followed him down with the blink. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, that's not nice of Cascan. A Geek Fam from a 4K lead down to just 1K. So Fnatic is building up a lot more. Go back to the point with that Luna. I think Raven, when he went for that BKB, he should fight. Like, there's no other point in early BKB. It doesn't accelerate your farm. So he's missing out on that item, and just like that, Savage takes the tier 3.
He does. Onto the rats. Soulbine's gonna fly out. Now the equal there onto Wyman, but they're not really going in. Very, very hesitant about this. Of course, the healing ward is gonna be there from Savage. Up all the damage they pump out onto Moon. So he's just fine with taking all this damage. Now the healing ward does die, but they found the million rats up at the top lane, and Geek Fan, have they waited too long? Einstein Science, he comes to the destruction. Now Cuckoo can try and get in there. Sonic Wave does connect to two, but the Omni will kill him off. They just can't win this. There onto Raven. They clear them out. And Fnatic back into that Rax now, secure the top lane. There'll be a buyback out from Whiteman, but they're out of it.
Yeah, all of that without having to expend the Aegis as well, so Savage is still good to go, and you're seeing that sustain kick in here, Mike. You've got 2 levels now on Jabs with a Voodoo, so every time they have the Voodoo and Healing Ward up, man, you just can't kill these guys off. They just stay alive for too long.
Oh, Whiteman, he got jumped on. He can't die like this. He just fought back. He doesn't yet, but Impel Drops come in from DJ, and that's going to be enough. Whiteman's gone to 70. And Fnatic, I mean, they're full HP and basically full mana. Feel like they can keep going through that mid lane. You've also still got the Aegis there on Savage, and he wants to go. Raven also has the Eclipse. He jumps in, gets the stun off with the stroke of fate. Now Cuckoo will try and protect. Soulbind does fly out, move. He blinked in to try and get a stun off. But they're not really going to follow up on that Soulbind. It's very, very defensive. And it looks like they are just going to try and wait out White. You've got so much sustain here with the Guardian Grimstone Ward and the heals from Tabs. And now Raven getting taken out by his own illusion. Carl trying to come in from the back, from the behind, but it doesn't really work out. He has to run it back forward. Now Ice picking first up. If you BKB, he will die. Cuckoo jumps in onto Jazz, but Dragon's Tower does come out from Boone. He does die now. Savage, however, is in trouble. He's still holding on to Angels and will lose it. Jazz, dead forward with the cars. DJ unable to get a stun off. Fnatic, do you want to keep going? They still have plenty of time on that Dragon Ball. And now Cuckoo's there. And so they say, yes, we'll keep going. Omni-Slash is back up in about 10 seconds.
They just check the Scotty while that was happening as well for Savage. He has more stats and more damage.
Getting jumped on, disruption to the same. He'll be fine to blink out of there. Now with the Dragon Form illusions, they can keep pushing in that rat. Big Omni, Wyman's going to drop very, very quick. Cuckoo, or rather, Carl does manage to put it away. Savage, don't mind that. He'll go back into that mid lane rats. And we still have a quick shot on Raven, but he has not been ever committed. Now the spotlight flies down, but they've already lost that progression. Sonic Wake, Moon takes no damage, get the BKB off. They just kill it. And now, Fnatic's back in. They've hurt up Raven. He BKB's pops the eclipse, but Savage takes half. Raven trying too quick. He will go down. This needs to run. Nice is on the chase with the shadow put the spam. They get him as well. Oh, this is looking bad. This is looking real bad for Geek Fam as they are on the tier 4 towers now. They can't push the final lane of Rats, but it doesn't matter. You don't respect Geek Fam with this draft at all right now. As Carl's trying to run, but he's been stunned up and there's too much damage coming in. He bounces and Revan through the but they're just handing him up. That's the How dare they? It was definitely a Grimstroke that managed to get that done. Savage, however, just concentrating on the tier 4 towers. They're still trying to defend this. Savage is pushing way too. There's so many hills coming in, they can't get through the HP pools. They never have to back off. Now Carl, he ends up going down the end, but no buyback available on him. They jump back into Cuckoo, but Cuckoo blinks. He might be dead. Yeah, he's gone. The DG's been called. Oh, Fnatic, what a way to finish this series off. They just go one rats and they never go back.
That is really one way to do it. Yeah, that's one way to do it. And Fnatic, well, game 1 was highly dominant. Game 2, Geek Fam, it looked.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. On we'll go, finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest, echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways.
Seconds remaining.
Team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban.
Ten seconds remaining.
Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining.
We are back. Next series of the day between Signal Ultra and Boom Esports. It is MLP Dota and John Expired. John, welcome back, sir. I see you've been having some fun in the chat. Don't think I haven't been watching. I guess we should have a conversation, sir. Is SCA the hardest?
It was more of like how pubs are, and I'd agree that NA pubs are. I don't mean to disparage. I don't mean anything by it. But when I play NA with my friends, it's all right with 200 ping. You know, it's like I've had some fun there. But I'd say C pubs are a very different kind of place. It's a weird place. On the one hand, you've got people calling everyone anything under the sun. You know, you've got everyone raging. On the other hand, no one runs down mid and feeds. They still play. They're just tilted to hell. But it's a very different environment. I would say if you had to say it, yeah, C is about as hard as EU, but in a different way. It's not a one-to-one comparison, for me at least.
I'm a bit upset though that nobody Australia this. I mean, I realize in a way you wouldn't want to bring Australia into the conversation because obviously that's, you know, we're talking, like, that's beyond, right? Like that's beyond
That's beyond the summit.
Right.
Oh no.
We don't want to get the number one involved, right? We gotta reach close to that point before we can even talk. You don't just fight Mike Tyson, John. You gotta take some warm-up fights first before you get to that point. Anyway, we'll move on from the chat discussion. Signal Ultra versus Boom Esports. John, the draft has started. Obviously, we talked about this prior to this game really coming upon us. The Signal Ultra side, they don't really have a chance to get into the playoffs, right? Yeah. It's a bit of a show match. It matters to Boom Esports, not so much for Signal Ultra. But for them, it's good practice, good exposure. Obviously, if you could somehow beat Boom Esports, who have looked really good throughout these group stages, it would look really, really great for the team. So there's no harm in just trying to get a nice victory for your team and, you know, just kind of show the world, hey, we're here. You know, we didn't have the greatest start, but we're still around. We're going to make it back. Boom Esports, however, again, they definitely want to try and get every series they have left as a 2-0, and they only have 2 left, including this one. And they have started off with the Boomy Earth. In fact, not Boomy, excuse me. They have started off with the Earthshaker. I always get confused because it's Boom Esports, right? But they've got the Earthshaker. You get my point. They love this hero. It's upon us. Signal Ultra. They do go into the Bane Queen of Pain opening, which is quite intriguing considering the Bane doesn't enjoy the Earthshaker very much. And Boom Esports will take the nature's profit.
Yeah, you know, I like Boom Esports start a bit more. I think the last day we casted, we did see 2 series of Signal. Right, they did go for the Queen of Pain, and I don't recall it actually working out too well. So let's see if Signal's shaking that off. If James will have a bit of a better time if they do give him that here in this case. Boom, though, these are comfort picks coming out. The Shaker, as you mentioned, for Hyde, is a pretty key hero. He just sets the tempo once he has the blink. And this is a hero we've seen banned out multiple times, consistently. So it slides through. Of course, you pick it up. Same thing with the NP. We've seen that also first phase banned so many times, and Boom's allowed to pick it up. So they've got the early push. They've got the early aggression they could play around. And the beauty of the NP pick with a Shaker, I think, is that NP can go to the jungle, and Shaker can get a lane. So you're going to have that steady build up to the blink. That's going to be key for Boom. For Signal, you know, with the Quap and Bane, it's a solid opening. You're not revealing too much. We have to find out what else they build around that.
Sure.
5 seconds.
But now, though, Signal Ultra, they're going to make their 3rd pick. It's a very interesting opening here from Ultra. I'll give them that. I wasn't quite expecting the 2nd pick, Bane, as it hasn't really been that popular. Very, very strong. I always like to point this out, John. As a POS 5, the hero is extremely strong right now. Basically always has been, in all fairness.
Yeah.
It hasn't really been weak at any stage. Just its kit altogether is amazing. Just needs a few kind of, maybe an item or two to be relevant enough to be able to actually cast Fiend's Grip from a distance without getting caught out. But overall, it's even without, it's still pretty darn good. Ultra, 50 seconds reserve time left. They're still thinking. By the way, I did see someone would win in a fight between you and I, John. I was about to chime in, but you know, hopefully that never has to happen. You know, I don't want to get my nails out and scratch you, John. You know, you better watch out. I've been in a few cat fights myself, so.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I would say on would be pretty even. I think the physical output's fine. The biggest issue is I'm asthmatic, so I'd die after one round. I would faint after one round. That's the way it happens in the ring as well. Still, you see Signal, it's a favorite of yours, Mike. Two favorites now, the Bane and the Earth Spirit coming out. I think you really like this combination, and it's solid, right? It's solid control, great team fight, not quite locked into anything just yet, and boom, they take this chance to pick the Venge. This opens a lot for Boom. We've seen this before, but the Venge leads into a Medusa for them. They're the only team to really be successful with that. I wouldn't be too surprised if they went for it.
My automatic thought was the Luna. But then I realized once you pointed it out, wait, this is Boom Esports. They do love running those unkillable kind of POS 1s. And, well, you mentioned it. We've seen the Medusa Venge out from them before. They are very dominant with that combination. Nobody seems to be able to actually stop Dreamersoft from farming every game he's in. And for now, Signal Ultra, they do take the Kunkka, so they've got some great team fight. A very early to mid-game round kind of draft for themselves thus far. Boom Esports, their draft hasn't changed either. They are also very, very good at fighting in that mid-game. It's just going to be a matter of what they pick up now for those last two calls, and they are going to go for the Lone Druid pickup to start off with, which is, it's great. I guess we weren't thinking of that when we thought of Venge though, right? Like it was a bit more of an unorthodox pick to go for with the Venge.
Yeah, it's not common with Avenge, but something Boom picks up multiple times. They're one of the 2-3 teams to pick up that Lone Druid to great success. So I expect Dreamosol to get that early farm in the bear. You do have to be really careful with where you put that bear in this case. There is a lot of good damage from Signal to find it and build off gold advantage from picking that off. So micromanagement going to be important, but Boom has set themselves up for a really fast push. NPLD, it's just really a lot to deal with. Even with the Venge Aura, just makes it a lot easier to take away those early towers. So Signal have to delay that off. I think they do have the draft to do that. The Kunkka gives them a lot more durability in these fights and gives them good control to follow up from their Quap. So it's shaping up nice. I think both traps are pretty balanced. I will give an edge to Boom just because of how they've been performing. I've got to see what Signal does with their Queen of Pain, because we've seen them play that 4 games in a row last time, or at least 2 out of 4 games, and it wasn't the most successful execution of that hero.
Remind me, do they have the Arcana? Was this the team that I was getting slightly annoyed about because the first day the Arcana came out, they kept taking the Quap and they didn't have the Arcana?
Yeah. Signal, yeah, I believe it is. Like, I don't think anyone has the levels except Jamesy has level 200. Yeah. But I'm no shaming there. It's just, you know, it's not a priority for Signal Ultra right now, I don't think.
I suppose not. Boom Esports, their final ban out now. They did get rid of the TA on Signal Ultra side. So Boom, looking to make their final ban. Seems as though Signal Ultra are still, of course, missing that position 1 for themselves. Again, I do believe they're going to want something kind of early here. I don't think they want something to go into the late game if you are Signal Ultra. You can afford to, but the Earth Spirit in particular does tend to drop off quite a bit once you get into those later stages. He's a god amongst men when we're talking about the first 10-15 minutes, and then after that, he can still be good, but, you know, it's... If we're talking about Jerax, sure, I believe, you know, he can make it work. But there's only a few plays out there that can really stretch this hero to that point where he's just a monster even in the later stages of the game. Boom Esports, well, they'll still think about this last ban out now. They already got rid of the Spectre from their 5th ban. I mean, what don't you want up against that lone druid? Like maybe the Ricky? The Ricky would probably be a decent ban here.
That's a response we've seen a lot of into that LD. I think that would be pretty solid. I think other heroes for a bot that are in the pool might not be the best, but are kind of options for Signal. Something like the Troll could make an appearance again. We've seen a bot play that multiple times. I think he's been very fond of the Jug as well, just going off of what they've drafted before. So those are probably what they've been looking at. I think stand out the best. Like the Spectre is something a bot's played a couple of times to success, and a Ricky as well for the LD, but you don't have those options now. Still, we'll find out as I accidentally dropped my cam, so I'm just gonna reconnect there, and the LC does appear for Boom. So they've got the offlane they're looking for. It gives them solid control. In this case, you are giving yourself a pretty nice offlane there for FBZ.
Mike, John, for the love of
yeah, that happens. Yeah, still, we're back. Sorry about that. And it's the Troll. So not the best. I don't think that's the most confidence in inspiring pause one, but it's what we've seen about play. You know, it's a comfort pick for him. So it's there. I think the response with the LC is pretty darn good. The timing from Boom is a bit more solid. Signal, they need to give about a lot of space, and they really need to maximize those 2 supports. That's key for them to find their momentum here.
Okay, I like it. I do like this from both teams. Could be a very, very interesting game. Of course, Dreamer Soul and that lone druid's going to be a problem. We all know this. Every game we've seen Boom Esports in, they just kind of tend to let Dreamer Soul have as much space as the man wants. He gets to some ridiculous point in the farm game and eventually just carries the game for Boom Esports. They love playing this 4 protect 1 kind of draft. Signal Ultra will kind of need to do the same. About maybe forced to try and join in early on in these team fights. As with the lone druid, you can kind of drag him along, as he does to be quite strong even in the early stages with that. I guess, you know, having 2 heroes is a pretty strong thing to have when you're playing lone druid. And if he farms fast enough, gets that Master of Madness, maybe goes into the Deso build, maybe goes into the MKB build, doesn't really go away. He's going to be online so darn quick. I just wonder if the back can kind of keep up on this Troll.
Yeah, it's going to be important for him to try. And again, it's down to that early game. It's down to the supports to try to make that happen. Which kind of brings another question in mind. Like we talked about this earlier, but the scalability of these supports up in the air. Like Hyde has so much room to grow on that Shaker compared to Bane Earth Spirit. There's just not much progress. I guess the Bane's control gets a bit more, but you mentioned the shortcomings of the Earth Spirit, and that's something Signal will have to factor in as the game drags on.
Yeah. Well, we'll go with it. Boom Esports up against the side of Signal Ultra. Game number 1. Put some lovely HUDs up as well. Signal Ultra, bad. He's of course going to run down to the bot lane on that Troll. He'll be there with Grims on the Bane. You'll have James in there in the mid on that Kunkka. He should be up against... In fact, they're running Dreamer Soul mid on that lone druid up against the Kunkka, which I don't mind too much. I actually don't mind the idea of Makoto just being in the safe lane as that prophet, because up against the Kunkka, he can't really win the lane. Lone druid might just have a better time.
Yeah, I don't see this being a major issue because you can play around with a bear. That the bear is going to be copying some damage early. It's still a very, very tanky bear at level 1. It's not like you're going to have the burst damage to deal with it, so there is still a lot of options there for Dreamosol. It does mean that Boom cannot allow their side lanes to bleed out. Like the presence you're getting from an NP up top compared to the LD is not as strong, I want to argue, and that does leave Signal with openings for their early aggression to work out.
Be a bit of a rough lane down the spot lane for Signal as well. Like up against the LC, Legion Commander doesn't really lose many lanes, so
the battle begins.
Actually Grim's gonna go ahead and just swipe a boundary for himself there. Nice little play, but leave. No, that will be a 3. No, it will be a 2 for 2 anyway. FBZ, KSQ did manage to find 2 boundaries themselves, so it ends up 2 for 2. But what I was trying to say is this bot lane for this troll may not be as easy as you'd hope up against the LC.
Yeah, it's a trickier lane. We've seen the LCs really balance that out. It's really going to be down to Grims to try to get that zoning out. Even then, I mean, you've got Hyde around, he can play around with Fissure, you've already got these early block working against you, so there's a lot there for Abat to work against in order to find that snowball start of his own.
If I can't have you, no one will.
Hyde, maybe go for an early pull. He'll try and block that small camp, but Grims is going to be there to try and harass him out. Hyde trying to do it the sneakier way, but doesn't really work out. Grims still going to chase him down, but Hyde does get the block off anyway. It's a very nice block to make up against the Bane, as he doesn't necessarily want to be harassing out the LC in this safe lane. Rather would just pull and allow a bat to farm underneath that tier 1 tower. As long as Hyde keeps stopping him from doing so, that makes things even harder.
Yeah, he's not going to be off to that good start. He's kind of being kept in check, and again, this just takes away from that early presence you want from Bane. He should be trading a bit better after pulls, but now he's just kind of forced to hang in there and soak for a bot as well.
Yep. Mid lane, bring the soul of course up against Jamesy. Now Jamesy shouldn't suffer too much, but in terms of slowing down Dreamer Soul, I kind of question how much you can slow this man down on the Lone Druid. But obviously the tide thing is going to be quite nice in chipping chipping away at that Lone Druid. But you just saw one of the big problems is that entangle from Dreamer Soul can be a little obnoxious to play against. And in terms of trying to CS up against the Lone Druid as well, you might just evenly trade, but you're not really going to slow him down.
No, definitely not. And being down mid means Dreamosel has easy access to some of his camps as well, so you can find additional farm down the line if given space to do so, and that can really build up for someone like the LD, so that's something Signal might want to correct with a rotation from perhaps their Earth Spirit. Something we really need to watch out for from this game is that presence of Eris can be a lot more important across all lanes.
That it will be. Eris is actually up at the top lane, going for a roll, but misses on Makoto. He does have the Orb of Venom, but you don't have the Shadow Strike. Well, that's an interesting build. Man actually hasn't gone for Shadow Strike. He's going for the max screen on that Queen of Pain, and hasn't actually used his second skill point yet, just thinking as to whether he's going to need the Blink, or whether he will need the Shadow Strike. And I understand why you go for the screen up against an edge problem, because obviously you can clear out the tree and it will escalate Van's farm quite a bit. But at the same time, the Shadow Strike is just such a broken ability right now with the amount of slow it provides, that it's kind of hard not to see it being leveled up here.
Yeah, it opens a lot for Mikado. This allows us to actually stay in that lane, and you do see First Blood already coming out from Dreamosol with a good rotation from Hyde. This is something Signal cannot allow. This good start for the LD, man, you're going to see a snowball start in that bear very, very fast if they don't mitigate this.
It's problematic as well, right? Because you bring Grims into the mid lane as the Bane, but then you leave Abat by himself up against FBZ, who again, like, he may not necessarily harass out the troll very hard, but LC does have some great CS and drive potential. And Abat doesn't necessarily want to trade evenly with this LC either in his own safe lane. While he still will be okay, I don't think this is necessarily what you want. However, they do get the kill onto Hyde now. So Grims does secure a kill for himself on that Bane. Looks like he'll take that time to get some deeper Observer wards down and maybe just back in to that bot lane.
Yeah, he really needs to help keep a bot up. FBZ has been having a bit too much of a good time keeping up. This is in stark contrast to how Van's off lane is going. But Van up top, he's stuck at 13-2. It's a runaway start for Mikado in that sense, and you really want to keep this as balanced as possible for Signal on both ends.
Well, Eris looks like he might make a rotation now. He is level 2 on that ES. So just waiting the 5-minute banner at this point. Should be able to secure at least one. Right. Keski was running towards the other, but decides better of it.
Your admiral is on board.
You do see Jamesy suffering a bit on this Kunkka in terms of his HP pool. He does have the double braces on, does have a set of tangos for himself, and is leading in last hits. But as time goes on, Dreamercell is slowly hitting harder now with those base boots up on the bear. I guess we'll see as Kescute has also rotated in on the bench, but does kind of show himself. Meanwhile, Dakota doesn't end up killing Van. Eris getting blocked by the Sprout. Now the tree's blocking it as well, and he will eat a fairy fire. Still trying to run away, but nice salve use. But no, it wasn't a nice salve use, and she does die anyway to the trees of Makoto. That is not a great sign. 2 kills going away to the Nature's Prophet, and that was him doing that by himself.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough start for Signal. Their lanes are really not going out as we'd expect. Biggest issue, I think, is Eris. You need to set up with this guy. Even if you throw 2 supports for the kill, it's worthwhile, and they do find Dreamocell down mid, so that makes up for it just a bit. But your sides are still not doing well, yeah.
Yeah, he's in huge trouble. So it's essentially an even trade between the 2 teams, right? Because you find both those position 1s. Now those Signal are going to also get high. That might give them the slight edge here in this little trade. Hyde will end up dying. Nice pick up there from Signal. Great setup from Grim.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Eris now looks to get a lot more active on this ES. I do get slightly concerned about his level timing though. He is still sitting at level 2 at almost 7 minutes.
Structures are
Does an ES, you really want to get to that 6 mark, because once you've got Magnetizer, you can practically kill anyone on the map right now if you are Eris. But it looks like that 6th time is going to be a bit late.
Bottom tower has fallen.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story for Boom. It's been a slower start for Hyde, who's also stuck at 2, so there is that still up top.
Yeah, it's not playing it. That's trying to go here. Sonic Wave committed. It's not enough to kill off FBZ yet. Now Van doesn't actually have any mana left and can't blink yet either. He does have the mana for blink now, but it will be too late. Makoto does secure the kill. Meanwhile, the Bat at least does get out of there on the troll. But they won't be able to really secure that tier 1 tower that they wanted after the LC kill. And speaking of the LC, she never died. FBZ still farming that top lane just fine.
Yeah, it's just kind of crumbling apart early for Signal. The rotation's not quite paying off in the way they'd want to. I think the key thing right now is have a bot farm up. Just don't expose him to that danger. They don't have the best push outside of the troll, but that's something you have to accept. It's either you risk a bot getting caught out, or you find the objectives. You can't have it both ways, and Signal, they've got to think about how much they clump up, because their supports, they're still stuck at low levels. Grims is at 4, Eris is at 3, but we're approaching the 10-minute mark where both of these supports are just not finding too much early XP.
Well, Signal now, they're going to rotate up with Jamesy. He does have a double damage rune active. He was spotted out picking that up though. There was a nice observer ward by that rune spot. So everyone up at that top lane does back off. They aren't going to be able to secure a pick off, but they may still try and go for that T1 tower. But just look at Jamesy. He's just being so patient, not realizing they got spotted out in the first place. And now the only play is you pushing that top tier 1. But Boom Esports look to be trying to set up for either a bot tier 1 push or a mid tier 1 push, as FBZ is going to rotate in onto Grims. He has that dual arm. Grims should have enough time to react to this. He does have the Nightmare, and in fact they won't even be able to keep up with him. So he does get away, but now you start applying that tier 1 pressure.
You do see Signal take the top tier 1 at last, so they rotate in for the defense. They might be able to catch FBZ if he straggles on a bit too long, but just goes the right way, so not finding the punishment here just yet from Signal. This is giving more time for Dreamocell to just farm. Conversely, you give time for a bat to farm, so both sides are building up. There's a lot more ground for a bat to cover though, as he's about 700 behind still. Signal, they do smoke up.
They have. Down in the bot lane where they'll try to go onto maybe just hide. FBZ, no, they'll leave him be. Yes, will be down the Earthshaker. He does fish up, but he will be called back into the boat. Now Nightmare is being place on DLC. Still, Makoto was around as well, but all he could do was sprout. So FBZ, he's going to make a run for it. They will just go back for the bounties and be fine. Signal Ultra, they do find a nice little pick off there onto that ES. Well, it's an ES, right? Like he's about to hit that level 6 now. He just ate the turn. It's going to be a while off his blink. That's probably what he's going to do, is just farm up that blink dagger while he can.
Yeah, it's still a pretty good kill for Signal. I think slowing down Hyde's blink is a pretty good way of tempering Boom's tempo. So it's going to slow down just a touch. You're going to see Hyde maybe stay in the jungle, try to farm up, or stay in a side lane that's pretty safe to get that farm. Before that, the fight potential of Boom is still there, but it's not so much in team fights. It's really all down to the Shaker to give them that wide AoE control. So as long as Hyde's not ready, then Signal can play a bit faster as 5 without worrying about too much punishment there.
You have the Mask of Madness up as well now on the Spirit Bear, so Dream Missile can really dish out a lot more damage, but bot lane Makoto, as he's stuck around too long, he will commit the ulti, no, never mind, FBZ's here, Van tries to commit the Sonic Wave, Treant's blocking FBZ's way right now, they've got to move them out of there, they do finally get it, but Jewel will be there, however, Jamesy does get a trade onto the Prophet, and now FBZ, because it took so much time, is going to be chased down by Jamesy and Eris, though no. They are low on mana. They won't bother trying to secure this LC kill. They'll just leave him be. And they may need to try and react to this tier 1 mid-tower push coming up from Dreamer Cell. Because that Spirit Bear is taking it quite fast, and he does get it. No defense.
Yeah, it's a bit late on the TP there from a bot. You don't really want to drag that troll out for the defense though. So Boom, with that objective, do get a lot more map control with the tier 1 mid and bot gone. They can play around the jungle a bit more. They do have more space to farm up and build a slight advantage for themselves. Not too big, less than 1k. Signal, they're still finding farm here. You're still seeing progression for Jamesy. He pockets 2.5k in the bank. We'll see whether or not he opts for the armlet or the, I believe the Shadow Blade's been pretty popular for Kunkas as well. Or even the Urn if no one else is picking it up. So there's options available. And I think as long as you're keeping up in farm here, you've still got pretty good timings for a bat. So you just put a lot of hope in that troll to itemize early and hopefully be online faster than Dreamocell. That's the key thing for Signal. There's just not punishing Dreamocell so much, even as they do the same thing. So Dreamocell's just in the jungle as well, is going straight for the MKB on the bear, and that's when it really kicks in, the damage. And you don't really want to see that damage come out.
No, you don't if you Signal Ultra, that's for sure. Kind of intrigued as well, in fact, never mind, I was about to ask what a bat was going to go for with his item build. He is indeed going for the Sergeant Yasha into a Satanic. Just going for that very early style fly build on the troll. Mid lane, Dreamer Cell boat was flying in, but a nice swap out executed now. They will go back onto Eris. Jewel is going to be successful. Sonic Wave out from Van. It really doesn't do so much damage though. Van, he does barely blink out in time, but Jamesy is still going to be in a bit of trouble as another swap does come in from executed. And that means that Jamesy is going to be the second to die. And the worst part of all that was they don't actually get the kill.
Oh yeah, it's difficult, especially since you've got that 6 up and running on Kezcute, so the swaps are in play, and just a small play like that is enough to buy them time to regroup, to get the damage out. Boom's response has been a lot faster on those objectives, so they've been able to get that punishment out at a smoother pace. And with those kills, you look at Hyde, just about 300 gold off from the blink, although
yeah, that's gonna come in. Maybe just pop the battle trance and just get the kill. That's what it'll do. Although, stuffed up. BP coming in from Makoto and the Prophet, but eventually he just cancelled that there was just no hope of helping out that ES. It's a nice kill there from a bat.
oh, Jamesy.
Uh-oh. Getting jeweled up. The jewel will not be a win, but it won't matter. Nice pick off there onto that mid-conqueror, and now Grim's looking for a beans grip. Does commit onto the LC, so there's no way to purge that off. And that will be an easy kill secure there from the side of Signal. In fact, they want more. So try from Makoto, he gets ensnared up. That does get lucky. And with that, Signal Ultra, they still do find a positive trade.
Yeah, they turn it around, they get a bit more. They are starting to really reach into that potency of a bat, and he's just about done with the SMY. So it's going to be up and running. Oh.
He was being chased, but now he gets an entangle into that wall, and he might just be dead.
Oh, man.
That's the thing. One entangle with a Mask of Madness active, and it's very, very hard to survive if you aren't the Kunkka. Everybody else just basically dies to that.
Yeah, and man, Dreamocell, we talked about him being punished. That would have been a good chance, but he's gonna hit that MKB timing really early. So the bear is just gonna be that much harder to deal with. The damage is gonna kick into gear. Signal, they've got to be a bit faster with their target prioritization. Like, yeah, finding Mikado, finding FBD's nice, but not the... yeah, it's like...
I can guarantee by this point his impact is not gonna be big. In fact, goes for plus 50 damage.
Ooh, yeah, I guess...
Really interesting.
I guess if they get the Nightmare off, I mean the Fiend's Grip, you can right-click a bit more. Just maybe they don't expect too much value from the distance anymore, simply because of that limitation. So they opt for just burst, and that's fine in some cases still. Boom, they smoke up, they know where Signal is.
The weapon swap, and that of course is going to be the priority target. He does battle trans, but it may not matter. He's being caught out. Now James here, great fun, great sonic wave from Van, but he's killed nobody off and hide. Just turns around with the Echo, starting up Van. He does manage to blink away, but now Grim's going to be in trouble. They will just chase him down. Eris also being caught out, I believe, on that Earth Spirit. In fact, it's the Kunkka Jamesy that got caught out by Makoto and does die. The only person to get out of there is Van. He's still being chased by this creep wave. Does get the invis. FBZ doesn't have the jewel anyway. And looks like he's just going to try and skip the creep wave and push, but well, he was underneath the sentry, won't matter now. And he'll just keep pulling that creep wave away. That'll mean Boom Sports, they just go up to the top lane where they still have 2 towers to take anyway. It's not too big of a loss for them.
Yeah, it's, you would rather mid, but you take what you can get. Pretty decent timing to stall out as well for Signal. Dreamocell's Aegis does expire, so you don't have to worry about now in the next set of defensive fights. Does give Signal a slight opening, but a lot more to work towards. An 8k advantage at this point, still quite the challenge to overcome.
They're gonna smoke up Signal. James here, gonna catch that Dreamocell. Quickly use the smoke. Dreamocell. He catches him out at his feet. He used press the attack. Can't purge it off. He's not in there. Trying to protect FBZ. This is gonna be huge to the side of Signal Ultra. FBZ still trying to run, but they roll in again. Everett helps them secure more. They get Ken secured. Now the pace is on behind. He's still trying to make a run for it. Do you want to keep chasing? No. Eric has still going to be caught out of that, really wants to kill the Hive, should have no way out, and he doesn't. Signal Ultra getting a 4-for-0 trade, and that is a lot of gold XP going the way of the Radiant.
Yeah, it really helps out a bat massively. Look, he got about 1,000 gold from that entire exchange. So Twirl's in a bit of a better spot. He's not as far behind. They take a key tower out as well. So they're starting to claw their way back the map. You still have to be worried about that top lane constantly shoving in, but beyond that, there's a little bit more room to farm up in. Boom has to be careful about giving away kills like that. It is just really good timing from Signal. Again, they knew the Aegis was down. They knew that was the time to play. They took massive advantage of that timer. Boom. They just need to stay together. It looks like they will wait for Dreamocell to finish the Abyssal. It's almost up and running, and at that point, the bear just becomes a lot harder to deal with. You could probably just cancel off that Fiend's Grip by yourself if you know where that Bane is.
Right. Smoke now from Boom. Top lane, a bat is going to be playing in that tree line, and nice scan out from Signal Ultra. They do actually know exactly where the smokes happen. This should be easily avoided now, but Grim might just the game that was he. I don't think it was really necessarily going to die like that. In fact, Eris is also still here. Gets some Dakota, who he's there from behind. And, well, James, it's going to be a decent boat into a sonic wave, but it doesn't make a difference. That was scanned out.
Yeah, it's a bit more than you'd want to lose, but it's just supports, so you're not going to be too upset with your signal. That is still a tower going away here. Boom's just going to take it very fast.
Well, that's the problem. If you lose a couple heroes like this, you're going to lose an objective straight away. Signal Ultra really can't afford to lose any kind of heroes when the side of Boom are this close to their tier 2s. Dream Missile now will go ahead and try to secure the other tier 2 tower. They have Soul Crest and the attack by the way, so Dream Missile is going to have a crazy fast kind of attacking bear, especially when you activate the Mask Madness on top of all that. And with that, it looks like they want to try and make a Roshan play, but that's going to be up in about 2 minutes from now. So instead, Boom, they will try and just take over this Radiant side jungle. Signal Ultra, unfortunately for them, that map has gotten a lot smaller.
That really has. They don't really have the best places to farm up, and they can scout around with the X, so they have that going for them, but it's not a good situation. They're clumping up fairly tight. They take control back of the triangle, but Boom is just farming elsewhere. Mikado is saving up for a full Desolator now. So his physical damage kicks up. It's going to kick everyone's damage up, along with, you know, having the Venge with a wave of terror. And of course that medallion or the crest up just means that you're going to be able to melt literally anyone that steps up here.
See? Off. Bishop is going to be there net on the Bane. Griggs should be a very easy hit off. Take it. Back to that Roshan pit. No, never mind. Now the torrent both going to fly in. That will save. No. Sonic Wave Kensky does die. Now the new jump onto James. He's still be water brothers. They do get the duel onto Eris. And Eris does go down. Now James is being sprayed up. About to run into his back. The Echo has been committed now by Hive. And that means Jamesy will die. They're still trying to do with the Bat, who has committed battle traps. But now it is about to blow up and it is over. They just wiped them. They just wiped them out, and there's the GG call. They've had enough.
Yeah, I can't blame Signal. 17-30, they just bled out from the start. There is maybe an opportunity here too to try and fight, but if they couldn't win that last fight, catching out the Venge, then it was going to be very hard regardless. I can't really fault Signal there still. Strong showing from Boom, and a really fast game. Dominant 17-30 victory. We'll see just how much Signal changes out, because they've been in a rough spot.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. On we'll go, finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest, echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat.
Ten seconds remaining. Ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team, ban. Dire team,
We are here for game number 2 between Signal, Ultra, and Boom Esports. It is MLP Dota, and of course, the lovely John X Fire. John, welcome back, sir. I was doing a bit of casual reading on Twitter in our break time, and I've got to ask you something because you are our expert on cultural studies in the Southeast Asian region. What is Blackpink? I keep seeing these.
It's
5 seconds.
it's K-pop.
remaining.
Okay.
It's I believe that's a K-pop group, and I believe they just maybe launched a new album or something. I'm not aware. You should have asked some guys from Boom. You know, I think or Signal might have a couple of guys who are into it. I'm not into it, unfortunately. I'm 100% sure. Mike, I love I'm a weeb, not creep. We have clarified this multiple times. You can tell by my body pillow, of course. yeah. So I wouldn't know it. They're a K-pop group, as far as I know. That as much info as I have to clarify for you. So that's it.
Appreciate it. You can appreciate the fact that I'm getting old. I don't know all these new groups and trends anymore. I'm what they call am I a boomer, John? I don't know. I don't. There's too many terms out there now.
No, I think they call our generation Zoomers. I don't know. I don't know, dude. I just see that on like Reddit a couple times. I don't know where we'd fit. We're not quite old enough, but we're not young.
Okay.
So we're just kind of washed up, I think, is what we are.
Fair enough. Thank you for that, Jonathan. Always a pleasure to hear your take on things. We are still waiting on the banning stage between Signal Ultra and Boom Esports. They're both taking quite a bit of reserve time on their final ban outs. Boom opting to ban out that PL as their final ban. Signal Ultra are going to have a bit more of a think about this. So I wonder what they're really considering here. Okay, it's fair enough. So plenty of very, very popular meta heroes being removed. We don't see any kind of respect ban coming out for that Remusol LD. But in all fairness, I don't think that's really the signature hero of Remusol at all. They just give him whatever. It's just, what do you feel like playing today? All right, well, here you go. Enjoy.
Remaining.
Pretty much. It's been varied for Dreamosol. I think what's really interesting is that they left a Shaker. So you have the potential here for Boom to just pick Shaker first, pick Morphling after if they want to play that way. They're not the kind of team to do so, but you know, if they want to make it simple, they could. Instead, they start with ENP. We saw FBZ. Well, actually, we saw Mikado do a lot with that hero on the safe lane. You know, he bought a lot of space there. This is very open start Boom because of that flexibility the hero gives. So they're not tying themselves into anything. They just want to keep their options open.
10 seconds remaining.
I don't mind the Nature's Prophet. It's been extremely popular as of late, and it has been making a lot of work happen in the games we've been seeing. It's really hard up against a Prophet as well, because if you lose a team fight, you're losing a tower without a doubt. It's just spawns treants start hitting tower, everyone else hits tower, your tower is now dead. Signal Ultra will have to deal with that. And, well, they go back into the reserve time for this first pick, 48 seconds left. They go into the Earthshaker.
Yeah.
Of course, that hero was still available after the ban stage, so why not just take it?
Yeah, I don't mind this. It's a good way to punish the NP. It's one of the classic picks you used to see against NP. You know, you'd go in, you'd slam with all the treants around, get your damage out that way. Good follow-up here from Signal as well with Morris. That's a hero we've seen really fade out. So it makes its appearance back. You can draft around this kind of team fight. Maybe look to the Snapfire, maybe look to the Puck. Even Phoenix could be really good here, depending on what Signal wants to go for to build on this base. It's looking potent for Signal, just kind of constrained to cooldowns if they play around that a lot. Boom can kind of still deal with this. Like, they do have maybe the chance to pick up a high Rubik if they want to just have the Rubik into Shaker on hand, you know, just take that figure away, play it against Signal. We have seen Boom Esports do that a couple of times, so wouldn't be surprised if that route they go to Clock instead. Now that's something you love to talk about against a Shaker. You just can't cast when you're beating Battery Assault.
Not only that, John, the Mars doesn't enjoy it either, right? Because you get that arena off, he hooks in, or if he's already in there, you just cogs in the middle of the arena. Yeah, you can still get the spear off, but ultimately it does become rather concerning because you've got this huge circle that is the cogs now in the middle of your arena, making it so you can't actually do much, right? But against that Earthshaker for sure, it's just hellish to try and do anything. Not to mention the scoutability of that clock.
Disruptor!
But Signal Ultra, they go into the Disruptor now, which is a very, very interesting pick. I guess it does work nicely up against the Prophet. You can just glimpse him back straight after a TP. Boom Esports don't care. They will take the Ricky.
That's a really good response at Mars. You don't care for Bulwark, that hero. A lot of value there. He can fight inside the arena as well. Ricky does not care for the arena at all, as long as he's not speared up. So it's a pretty great pick here for Boom. I think Signal, they've got to be on point the arena into Static Storm. You cannot stagger that. It has to be in play every single time. You have to maximize their 2 spells to win these fights. If you can do that, then your team fight is a lot better. So you can make that work out for you, for Signal. They just have to be on point with the execution. I think Boom, with what they have, is pretty open. Biggest thing to worry about is maybe the Mikado hero down mid. You want to see something that enables them to pick off the backline if possible, and Signal is going to make that hard. Beastmaster there means that easy way to catch out Ricky, easy way to catch out any sort of slippery mid that might come out, so it's value.
Barking, by the way, John. I'm not sure what my dog's going off about, but apologies for that. Go on. What were you saying? If she has to stop anytime soon.
It's fine. Yeah, it's just the Beastmaster here does make it trickier for Boom to maybe get a high mobility hero. You don't have a lot of the meta mids here. They were banned out first, but you've got options for maybe the Storm. It's a bit risky, but it can be nice to pick off the Disruptor immediately if you're fast. It does make it a bit simpler when to take that Disruptor out of the equation. It's just against a Beastmaster, you risk all that control, so it makes you really wonder what Boom wants to pick up. Like, you don't want something that will be extremely hurt by the lockdown. At the same time, you still need additional sort of a playmaker here, because you don't really have the best control in the big 5v5.
Right.
Admiral Tonka.
Alright, well, they're full pickup now, Boom Esports. They do go into the Punka, so great team fight coming out, and it's quite hard to get through the HP pools now of Boom Esports, because you're going to have that boat run coming in. I see this pick a lot up against things like the Beastmaster as well, because you do like to just get that roar out, and you like to just try and secure a quick, easy, clean pick off. But it's never really that easy if you have the Conqueror around. It's just going to throw that boat out, and suddenly they're taking half the damage. Even the Mars will have quite a rough time into that boat as well, right? Because you just, again, want to burst somebody down, but it may not pan out that way. And I do like the Conqueror to the Ricky, because he kind of needs that little buff during a big team fight.
Yeah, it's giving a lot of Boom what they were missing. So that buff you're talking about can be in play. I think the additional AoE control is going to be key for Boom as well. It's a really good pick. I believe that does mean that we've got our 3 cores in line. So it's the Kunkariki NP or the Kunkariki clock cores. Still some flexibility there. But it looks like we will close out with a support for Boom. So that gives Signal a little bit of leeway to maybe find what kind of matchups they want now. They have that kind of advantage with closing out this draft.
Witch doctor.
Okay, they go for the Witch Doctor. We've seen this before. Witch Doctor becoming ever so popular as a POS 5 as time goes on. And has been doing some decent work. Does do well up against the Mars as well. Again, you drop arena, but you've got a Death Ward to worry about. And paralyzing cast can be a bit annoying during the arena, to say the least. Ultra,
5 seconds.
their final pick.
Remaining.
So have a think about it. They still need that POS 1.
There's something
This does
with this
mean that it's
draft.
going to be a mid-beast
Yeah.
or a Mars, right? Yeah.
Yeah, mid beast up against Kunkka is not a good time. Like, you're gonna have to go Axis or feed the Boris to the Kunkka. So there's that to consider for Signal. They tie it up with the Faces Void. I don't know how I feel about that one. It's a lot of team fight. It's a lot of cooldowns for Signal. So there's a lot of downtime where Boom can just run up at you, keep fighting, keep finding the advantage. And if Signal's not on point with centering themselves around a Bat's Chrono, it can kind of fall apart. They might not find that momentum, so they have to play perfectly with their timing, risk slipping this game.
That they do. We'll find out how it all pans out. Of course, Signal Ultra at least would love to get a draw here up against Boom Esports. And Boom are playing to try and get that upper bracket in the group stage if they can. If they can get a 2-0 victory over Signal Ultra.
Remaining.
They are halfway there thus far. Gotta say, by the way, I do love the clockwork set there.
Yeah.
That's really that's literally the only good clockwork set right now, I'd say. The rest of them kind of look a bit lackluster, but that one really just takes the cake.
Oh, I don't know. I like the older ones. I think there's some old sets that just look like... There's one that looks like an Iron Man helmet. I think that's the one
No,
I
I
used.
don't
It's
like
pretty
that
slick.
one. It's just the helmet, though.
Yeah, the rest of the set's kind of... It's a mix and match for me with Clock. You're alright, though. As a full set, this is pretty neat. I want to point out Mikado's as well. That Inquisitor set from, I believe that was the Warhammer collab. It's one of the nicer ones. He looks like he's about to slay some heathens, like he is in Warhammer.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it is pretty cool. Why does Dreamosaur have a fish biting his dagger again? I don't understand that one. There's a fish on his tail and there's a fish on his dagger. I'm not sure why.
I don't know, maybe he wanted to play Slark instead, so he went for something with fish on his cosmetics. Whenever he's forced to play it, right? Yeah. It's the one way to get around that. Still, Signal, again, they've got a lot to try to pull out here. I think the big thing is, well, they have to prevent Dreamosel from finding that farm. Because we've seen what happens when he gets that farm on any hero. He's playing aggressive, starts winning his team, and it becomes very hard to control. So that's going to be important for Signal to really control up as the game starts.
I just don't know if you can, though. Like, it's just going to be a little bit difficult to try and control that Ricky. He really just needs a couple Wraith Bands into the treads to get aggressive with his team. They do have somewhat of a global lineup on Boom Esports this time as well with the Clock Nature's Prophet. Essentially have 2 extra heroes there in a blink from this guy's side, and Signal will have to be very, very cautious about how they play this. Because they will have Eris and Van in that off lane with the Beastmaster ES, so they're not going to run the BM mid, actually putting Jamesy on that Mars, which makes a lot more sense. I don't necessarily think this is still going to be a very easy lane for the Beastmaster. Like, it shouldn't be too bad into the Ricky, but you're still up against that Witch Doctor, who can start up your balls for a very, very long time with those casts.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a risk. I think even for our Mars, like getting this shift out for the BM, it's not amazing for Mars. Like, Mikado has ways of playing around that. His cleave is a lot further reaching, so yeah, you really just have to be aware of how much Mikado can get done down mid.
That going to FBZ, he does not get the bounty. Still does get some nice damage onto that, makes profit. However, Grimm's taking way more damage right now on that disruptor. I wanted to keep chasing, but that will turn around, make sure his pos 5 does stay protected. I believe I just saw Grimm's buying more regen for himself anyway. Be just fine. Mid matchup with the Conker Mars though, the one I'm a little bit intrigued about. Seems like the Mars shouldn't have that big of an issue here up against that Conker.
It's not too hard for Jamesy, and he has his own way of clearing out the waves with Rebuke, but Mikado has an easier time shoving it out from afar. So I'd say it's still a better time for the Kunkka, but it's not complete wash like it would be with, say, a Beastmaster. So it's a better time overall, and I can't believe we're at the second to last day of groups and you're still getting internet issues here for well, basically every team.
What do you mean you can't believe? You live in the region, you find me all the time. I'm sure you can believe that more people do.
Yeah, but it's been so long that it's been like this. Like, at some point, it usually, like, stabilizes to less than a pause every game, but yeah, we haven't really been able to avoid that.
True. Uh-oh. Bounty has already been placed. This time it is going to be Grimm's. Now this is the first bounty being placed of the whole series, I believe. So Boom Esports must be feeling quite confident with themselves now that they've gone into the second game with a 1-0 victory. And I wonder if they'll get Grimm's in time. With High, even at level 1, just with that battery assault, you can dish out a hell of a lot of damage, but the problem is Grimm's is providing a lot of damage back the way of FBZ. With that Thunder Strike, it's quite hard for FBZ to actually feel comfortable in this lane as the Prophet, if things keep up like this. Grimm's now at that level 2 as well, the Disruptor, so should be able to provide more harassment, but here comes High. Battery Assault. Hard to trade when that Battery Assault's right on top of you, so you do have to kind of just kite him out. Eventually High's going to go for the side pull anyway. Now that going in, never mind that though. Top lane, Van does die. Kescute securing the kill there on the Witch Doctor.
Yeah, it's just the bounce issues you talk about. Like, a lot of control can fly out on the Beastmaster if he's not careful. And when you have the boar build, just isolate him just right, you can get those perfect bounces. So have to be a bit careful then, not to give the Ricky and Witch Doctor too good of a start. But Boom can be very pleased with just finding that first blood already.
No other feeling like playing Pulse 5 and getting first blood. I mean, it's just the best feeling in the world, knowing that that you don't have to give away to your cause for once. Kescute will take the time to buy some brown boots for himself, so he's not walking anymore. Nice indeed. Not every Pulse 5 has that luxury jump. You should.
Oh?
Mid lane, I've got to say though, Jamesy's not having a great time on that Mars. Like, you look at his HP, he's really got no reach left. Makoto's just constantly threatening now with the X. No, Torrent just going to be thrown out. No, he'll cancel that as well. He just keeps Jamesy on very, very low HP mid lane. There's nothing he can do about this.
Yeah, I think that's actually a bigger win. Look, Jamesy has to walk home. You don't find the kill, but you really take away his EXP gain. And Mikado, if he hits a fast 6, you can look to him to try to make a play, find some kills of his own down mid.
He didn't want to buy any regen. He was saving for the bottle. Now he does have the bottle. It's just a matter of whether it was worth saving that much gold for that bottle. Whereas you look at Makoto, he's got the double braces up already, working towards his phase. And well, that bottle's not necessarily gonna save this lane for you, but we'll see what he intends to do with it. Of course, Eris is already there on the Earthshaker, trying to protect that power rune up at the top lane, just in case. Don't think Makoto really cares though. He's just gonna stack his own neutral camp for himself. Fun fact, by the way, I believe you can still perma stack the neutral camp through Torrent. Makoto doesn't really bother doing that. I don't believe they've actually fixed that though. You can actually permanently just keep stacking one neutral camp with torrent if you wanted to.
I think they haven't taken out that vertical box limit, so should still be able to get that done. That's something they could abuse, but so far, I don't think there's any pressure just yet. Like, Mikado still having a good time mid. They find a kill bot on the Disruptor, and the lanes for Boom are going fantastically well. Like, you are perhaps getting a bit too much farm on a bat. You could argue that, but overall, everyone else is still finding pretty decent farm here from Boom as well.
I don't think they mind the Void farming too well, because the Void's not going to be that strong until he gets a few core items. Top lane, however, they try to pick up on Ken's Van. Is going to jump in there on Van. Dream is also going to jump in on Van, but won't be able to secure the kill. However, Courier does go down. Never mind. Kesku gets the kill onto Van with the Maledict.
Yeah, it's the last tick is always the one that burst it down, and he lost a lot. So he rotated heroes there to try to get that done. Doesn't pay off in mid.
Rotating in, Proto got the boat up. Bishop is there with the spear to come in.
Oh no.
Expo did still connect James. The top as well. There with the Tidebringer hit. And you had a couple rotations just in case from Kescute and Hines. Makoto, he didn't need it. Oh.
Yeah, this is really bad for Signal. They're throwing supports down mid to try to help out Jamesy, but to turn anything around. And now you've got Eris caught out by Hyde as well.
Yeah, Hyde's got that level 2 or level 3 now, so he's got the level 2 battery assault. Proud to be there, FBZ. We'll let Hyde take the kill. With that Earthshaker, John, I'm telling you, you just can't run away with that box on top. You can't do anything. Now, Makoto, Kescute's going to go onto Grims. The 4 Disruptor has absolutely zero chance of surviving this. Angie, though, does throw the arena down. Onto Kescute. He could secure a killing spree, and does. Look at a bit of but now it's not really worth your life. Behind with the battery stop, Makoto, the timing in here, once again going to kill off that Mars.
Yeah, it's one trade after the other, but Boom still leads at 1-7, 2k advantage. They are leaving their side lanes a bit, so a bot does get, again, more free farm, but looks like Boom really just doesn't care about that Void. They're still finding more farm across the map despite that, and they're applying that pressure. So this delay on James means our Mars is not going to be ready to fight early, and that is going to hurt the presence of Signal. They need to be ready to play around the back, but they just can't with this kind of deficit so far.
No, that they can't. You're going to have this really farming duel as well. Like, Emisol's second in network only to his own core at the moment. So I just don't think they care about the Void. In fact, bot lane, Eris being jumped on again. He's back on high, but it won't matter. The torrent connected, and Makoto does get the kill once again with the Tidebringer hit. He's just hitting so hard right now. He was just farming in neutral camp and just swung his sword.
Yeah, it's this point where Kunk does get a bit out of control. They do jump top though. What?
Oh, you can't. Oh, look at the Dream, so he dropped the iron in front of him as well. Are you kidding?
Oh man, he was
Bruno with no dust.
Ah, yeah, that's a huge. They had the sentry. I think they were banking on that. It was in the wrong spot.
Eris has dust.
Wait, what?
Eris has dust.
I think he was out of range. I think he walked up there to the side, so he wasn't not close enough. It's just a huge waste. That was the first chrono. They could have found Dream Cell now. They're going to be pushing in, but the TPs are coming out.
Yeah, Makoto, he would love X, and he wants that. From Makoto, he hits everything. He's going to the burn as well, and Van just won't survive this. Makoto taking another kill. He's really on point this game, John. 4-0 with 1 assist thus far. We're only 8.5 minutes in. Finding a kill every 2 minutes so far, and well, mid-lane now. Melodic and Coconut being thrown out on Grims, and there's no way out. FBZ will take the kill with the Nature's Wrath.
Yeah, it's just a slow dismantling here. Oh no.
Has the TP, Makoto has the S.
Just happened.
And I'm not sure about farming Radiant Jungle right now. If you are Signal Ultra, Eris is also there. Doesn't really have any wards to place down. Looks like he's just kind of stuck as to what to do. on Earthshaker at the moment. I don't know where it is safe. FBZ just gonna kind of run into him. Eric will keep it out. Bot lane, they are going after a harder target. They want Van again. And Nice Fisher is there, but Van is probably still gonna die. Hyde with the battery assault. Kescue with the final water attack does get the kill.
We're at 1 to 12 sub 10 minutes. This is a lot of blood being spilled with not much to show for it. Boom. At a 5k lead now. They have a lot more going for them. This slow start from Signal is gonna hurt. You're not seeing progression JMC, you're not seeing great progression on Van, and
that's a nice kill. JMC sitting up there with the arena. He does die. He's gonna find more of those. They can't take two fights at the moment, they just need to get solo pickoffs, it seems.
Yeah. It's all about finding those pickoffs, and if Signal can kind of punish Boom's highly aggressive play. Oh.
This is another nice one. Play from James.
Yeah,
it has been a bit rough on Signal, right? Because your Mars had such a bad lane stage that he could really never take off. But I suppose now he's caught up a little bit. He can actually afford to join in.
Yeah, he's not really farmed up, but I think you're at the EXP spike where you can get more done, so they are starting to punish. It's still a lot of work against, though. We're still talking about 4k in the bank going against him, and again, Signal needs to get some EXP up. Particularly, Grims just needs to level in Static Storm, has his 6. Just need that up, and you can play around with the Void now.
So, gonna be there, Grims. No chance of survival here on that disruptor.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Believe he had a glimpse, but it wasn't gonna be in time anyway. You could try glimpsing the clock away after the hook, but it's just, if you're that low, you're probably gonna die. It just doesn't waste any time.
So, it's not the worst losses for Signal though, right? Like, at least recently it has just been supports being sacrificed, so you're giving about the farm. He is inching closer.
That death ward, Kescue will take it. Such a simple combination, but it just is so effective here from Boom Esports.
Yeah, and they're again pumping out that early aggression. This is Signal really just buying space for a bot. He is saving up for a Mask of Madness into BKB. So they just want to fight around that, but... Oh, Kescue.
He's gonna die. Nice pick up here. Strong. He's not. Torrey comes in. Kescue, no, he does go down. Again, a nice setup there for James. Just taking any kill you can get, and that's what's important. But now that the arena is down high, great hook shot again onto that disruptor. Grims has Static Storm, but doesn't know where to commit. He does commit onto high, but he'll be fine to run out of there. The rest of Signal are joining in back. He has Roar up. Chrono, great from a back. Catching two. They take down one. Now with the Roar, don't tell me there's no nuts there is. This time Eris will commit Kieko and will secure the kill. Dakota will run away. And Signal, they're making their way back in now.
Yeah, they've got certain tools coming out as well. You see the blink up and running on Jamesy, so he can set up for his team, and he has been doing a bang up job of buying that space, buying the openings for Signal. If they ride off the back of Jamesy's initiation, I think they can find a lot more valuable pickoffs. You've got the Mask of Madness flying out for a bot, so his farm kicks up into gear, and his damage as well can start to build up in that Chrono. But boom, if they understand these timings, they smoke, they know they can play while the Chrono is down.
They can. And for some reason, it's always Van they go after. Poor Van can die a very slow and painful death. On top lane, they tried to make a chase onto FBZ, but FBZ actually has a walker up. So he does solve FBZ, but now he gets a spear off. This will be an important one, although Makoto is coming in the X and both off FBZ. He just man fights. Grims goes down, Fisher out, but do they have an echo? No, he comes up. James, he does win arena. Now a bat comes in. Also comes up, just man fighting up against FBZ. He does win that now. Makoto, however, may prove to be too tanky. So it'll be a 2-for-1 trade.
Bottom tower is under attack.
That'll be enough. Both sides are back out of there.
Yeah, it's a much more favorable trade for Boom. And they did find 2 heroes. They did also kill off James, who was carrying that momentum. So, a favorable trade for Boom. You do force Abat to try to jump in, skip some farm time as well. A bit of time being taken away from her Void, and Boom, and they've still got room to grow. Like, Dreamocel's been joining these fights, but he doesn't actually have any items up despite his farm. I believe that is his Diffusal flying in now, though. So the damage from our Ricky should pick up. His control should kick up as well, and that might be enough to give Boom a bit of a spike here. Continue to play aggressive.
Well, this is that point now where you do want to play aggressive as that Ricky with that diffuse on. Basically, anyone dies if he gets the blink to actually great hook shot in from Hyde. Took the barrier and off for Eris as well. Up at that top lane, poor Eris was just trying to secure the Fisher, knowing he would probably die for taking that bounty, and he doesn't even get that.
Yeah, it's a rough time for us, Eris. This hurts the blink timing for Shaker. So you're taking away some potency of the team fights of Signal as well, and it just makes them much more reliant on Void and on Mars. They Signal right now, they do have the Chronosphere ready to go from a bot. They don't quite have the mana, and I think they're just going to slow it down a bit. They don't want to force the big 5v5s. They'll just wait for an opening before that, just kind of farm up.
Signal Ultra will just stick together for now as well down the bot lanes. Van, he's going to TP up towards that top. They're going to go after FBZ again. Van has the roar, but FBZ understanding something's wrong. Get back off for a bit, but now thinking about going back into Hyde. Get onto Van. Roar will be committed, but Van may still be dead. The coconut flies out, and he will die to FBZ. Now Eris is going to run for it. Hook shot in Hyde. Doesn't get on the Earthshaker. That'll mean Eris can run out of there. I say that though, Makoto and Kensuke are looking right. No, there's no way out. There is no way out. They are not giving any openings to these boards. These fight him as well. And that top lane, the tier 2 tower, is easily going to be taken out here by Boom.
Yeah, there's no defense coming out. Signal, they're trying to trade a tier 1 bot. They should be able to find that objective, but it's not an important one for Boom to hold on to. No. So the map for Signal is just going to shrink, and that means the area you have to farm does shrink as well. You're not going to be able to safely build up in a bot. This is going to hurt that progression you need on that Faceless Void, and Boom just continue to widen that lead. 9k advantage, 7-22 at 17 minutes in. It's getting harder and harder for Signal to find that opening they need.
That does. How's the bat doing in farm now? He's got the BKB up soon. It's just so necessary up against the Witch Doctor Kunkka. Even the clock can be quite infuriating if you don't have that BKB up, but the hook shot will still be able to go through that BKB. So you're going to be a bit concerned about that. Now Bat would love the BKB to go, but X, with that X, does just time walk away. We're trying to time it perfectly, and they couldn't get the rocket off from FBZ in time.
It's a missed opportunity. Still, Signal can be very happy about that escape, as that does waste Boom's time this time around. And they don't lose the farm in the bot, so still gonna have control there, but I don't think Boom's gonna let go. They still want to force something out.
Yeah, X is on the bat. Can he time this one off? No, Orchid is there. They missed the cars, but it won't matter. Hook shot, trying to go into Grins, but he will barely just juke it out. Now Arena. James, he does drop it straight on top of Kensuke. He will die immediately. Now the team fight begins. Hyde, he'll go on the bat. China will connect. This is huge, huge trouble. Vessel there as well, and they just kill him off. With that, Grims gets the grip off onto Makoto, but they got the X on Grims. Dreamer's though to pick up other skill for himself now on that Ricky. And another, yeah, we have James getting caught in the comms there by the possible block. He really has no way out of this situation. Will also die, and we might have a full team like John. Aaron's also getting caught out now in the Earthshaker, just one by one.
Yeah, they just keep melting individually, and Signal's never able to get off that big chrono with the static storm, with the arena follow-up, and when they can't get that team fight as they want, this draft falls apart. There's just not much it does when you don't chain that. So Signal, a lot of pressure from them to try to get that perfect team fight out, but with that opening, boom, straight to pit.
Why not? Very, very easy. You have those screens to think. Even if not hitting that hard yet, that medallion of courage, it's really not that hard to take this one shot out. So, first roach of the game will go to Boom Esports. They do currently have a 13k network lead at almost 20 minutes in, and that might just grow if they find more bounty runes than the side of Signal Ultra do. In fact, they are TPing down, so there could be another big team fight coming out here. Van has to be so careful. Running up to that high ground, but he is going to get punished. So James jumps in, does get a nice arena, but now the smoke screen is there. It's very hard to capitalize. Van is still dropping. Still, Will is out an FPZ there. He'll get the trade for now Daisy. He's going to try and fight back. Static Storm really letting nobody in. The guy behind, but Fingersaw jumps back and onto the Mars. Now Chrono is going to be decent. However, he's been the sum. Both guys that have blown the Chrono is wasted. Oh, my bad. He didn't see the halberd there on Makoto. He just got it. Now, Eris will go down as the fourth. The only man to walk out is Grims and Hyde. He was on the chase, but he didn't get a chance to get the hook shot off. So at least it's not a full team wipe, but it may as well be.
Oh yeah, it's not looking great for Signal. That was probably one of the cleaner kind of initiations they did, except, you know, it wasn't even clean. You mentioned it. No one in the static storm. Disarm and Chrono. Not quite what you'd want here, Signal. So they still have that potency. They just need to really clean that execution up. Boom, they widen lead 9 to 32, 17k advantage, and they might find Van.
They love going off the baseball. That's going to be his ninth death of the game. Makoto is just... Makoto is 7-0-17 on this Conker. He's just destroying. Bot lane, hook shot in. Looks like they have got the board as well. That's trying to farm up while he's still alive. And James, you also died. Dreamer saw down with a double. In fact, could be another. Grims, he got away last time, but not this time. He is surrounded. Coconut comes out. He is very happy apparently. Static Storm being dropped. That'll really do nothing. He just dropped it. Half that high ground.
Yep, there's nothing to stop this. They've got the heals up. That's it. Yep. Ooh, Signal.
Poor Eris, he just couldn't even get the blink jump.
No, he was completely kept in check, and boom, they really dominated both games. Signal, that's the continuation of a really rough time here in the BTS Pro Series, but
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us.